was involved in the incident and landed safely in Israel, and that's according to Israel's ambassador to the United States. The KC-135 is a U.S. Air Force aircraft that refuels other planes midair, allowing them to fly longer missions without landing. It can also be configured for medical evacuations and surveillance. The KC-135 has been in service for more than 60 years, supporting the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and allied aircraft. The Air Force is gradually replacing the aging fleet with next-generation tankers. But despite these upgrades, concerns have been raised about the durability of the older aircraft. A standard crew includes a pilot, co-pilot, and boom operator who controls the refueling boom from the rear of the aircraft. Some KC-135s are also equipped with wing-mounted pods and can carry cargo or passengers when needed. Now, this crash follows last week's mistaken downing of 3 U.S. F-15E fighter jets by friendly Kuwait fire. Now, I do want to just share this post here with you again from Central Command as we are just getting this in. If you are just tuning in, following this breaking news here, as we are sadly learning that 4 U.S. service members were killed in this aircraft crash in Iraq. So we continue to follow this breaking news. And I also wanted to share with you here that we are keeping an eye on Washington, D.C., because in a matter of moments here, we are going to be getting an update on Operation Epic Fury. We're going to be hearing from War Secretary Pete Hegseth, holding this on-camera press briefing with Air Force General Dan Reason-Cain, Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff, in the Pentagon press briefing room. This is slated for 8 a.m. Eastern time, so really just 2 minutes away at this point. We're keeping an eye on this. Once again, this is going to be on Operation Epic Fury. Now, I also did want to share with you just a bit more of what we do know this morning as we do await this update. I do want to just stay on this image in case we do see War Secretary Hegseth come out there with General Cain. This morning, we are hearing from President Trump, and actually, I am going to share with you this post because we do have it in here. So let me put this up quickly as we do await this press conference. This is from President Trump as he shared this to Truth Social just a few hours ago, very early this morning. He said that today, the U.S. was totally destroying and killing Iran, warning to watch, quote, what happens to these deranged scumbags today. We are totally destroying the terrorist regime of Iran, militarily, economically, and otherwise. Iran's Navy is gone. Their Air Force is no longer. Missiles, drones, and everything else are being decimated, and their leaders have been wiped from the face of the earth. He then goes on to say we have unparalleled firepower, unlimited ammunition, and plenty of time. President Trump also appeared to signal significant action later on today, as we just read that quote there to you, saying, watch what happens to these deranged scumbags today. So we're keeping a close eye on all of this here on Live Now from Fox. President Trump ending this off by saying they've been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years, and now I, as the 47th president of the United States of America, am killing them. What a great honor it is to do so. So once again, that is the latest there from President Trump.
You know, I'm speaking to the one person who's watching right now. You know, let's not forget how we got here. Hillary Clinton supplied Iran with uranium to enrich their nuclear program. Barack Obama gave Iran $1.7 billion that they used to fund their nuclear program. Joe Biden unfroze over $16 billion of funds for Iran. It doesn't take a genius. All right. It's still too early yet for me to get on a tirade, so I'm going to go back. Well, no, there's nothing going on yet in the news. I'm going to pop over to Bloomberg and see what they're saying.
To what has become very much of an oil shock is key for people to understand, A, what...
Yes, oil shock. Well, look, the dollar did what I said it shouldn't do, or what I said hopefully wouldn't happen. It did it. It broke this $100 mark. This doesn't bode well for things like everything. All right, oil ran up to $97. Where was it when I called it? Oh wow, look at that. Yeah, it was way over here. It was right about here when I said this is a buy. That was $96. Looks like it ran pretty sideways and then came down. So I wouldn't say that that was a correct prediction. What is this? What is this? Is this some news? Ah, yes. Yeah, we got our minutes coming. Today should be a fun day. An interesting day to say the least.
Value in both small and large caps. If stagflation risks rise, value has outperformed in these environments. Joining us now to discuss is Jill Carey-Hall. Jill, welcome to the program. You have been much more cautious on this equity market as a firm than others. What contribution did this move in crude make to that call?
Great, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I think, we've started the year with a more constructive outlook on the S&P 500 overall, 7,100 target for year end. And, a lot of that is the expectation that even though it'll be a good year for earnings growth and for economic growth, it will be a year where we see some multiple compression. A lot of the big mega cap tech and growth stocks have been more crowded and expensive. We have been expecting a rotation within the market. And now with the geopolitical shock and the oil price move, I mean, usually supply-driven shocks are negatively correlated with the moves in the equity market. And, these do tend to be buying opportunities where you see these 5 to 10% sell-offs in the S&P over a multi-month period sometimes, but within 3 months, the sell-off is typically more than recovered. Similar for small caps, you typically see a bit of a bigger drawdown, but
that's
recovery
futures
within 3 months. I think one of the risks today is that, as Savita was on your show on Monday talking about, investor cash levels have been depleted. So, when you look at investors, mutual funds, their cash levels are at extremely low levels. Retail investors have been, reducing their cash allocations, even though there is a lot in money market funds. So there's the question of, is there less to buy the dip with this time around? And we did see dip buying last week by institutional and retail investors. Some of that was in energy ETFs, some of that was in tech and communication services stocks. But there is risk, how long could that dip buying continue?
Jill, what's impressive is that there hasn't been much of a dip. We're down about 4% from all-time highs on the S&P 500 and thrown a lot at this market, not just crude, but we could talk about the AI disruption as well. We could also talk about the private credit situation too. And yet, Jill, here we are 4% away from all-time highs. What do you think is really anchoring the more constructive view that's keeping this equity market somewhat range-bound?
Damn.
Well, we did see, some inclination to buy the initial dip last week, like I mentioned. So there has been those inflows. We've seen oil spike, but still under the $100 a barrel level. That obviously starts to get more risky the longer that the spike occurs, or the longer it stays at that 100 or 100 plus level. It tends to then have a bigger impact on growth and bigger risks to what the Fed does. So I think we and investors are watching how long this occurs, how high oil stays. But I think outside of what's been going on, corporate profits have been very strong. We've seen healthy, economic indicators. We've seen the manufacturing recovery start to take hold. So you've had some very positive developments on the broader macro side, prior to the start of this. So, I think this is starting to weigh on the market, but we have not quite seen that typical pullback that we see on those geopolitical shocks.
Jill, your colleague Michael Hartnett put out a note over the past couple of hours talking about how it's eerily similar right now to the lead up of the financial crisis in 2008, with oil prices spiking. At the time, they doubled from $70 to $140, and increasing discussion around subprime mortgages. Here we have increasing concerns about private credit. Are you seeing anything in terms of credit deterioration among some of the smaller companies that are included in small caps and beyond?
Over the past quarter or two, the past two earnings seasons, we've obviously seen, some tick up in credit concerns, in some of these isolated instances that proliferated a bit, and obviously we saw those comments about the question of, do these credit cockroaches proliferate? So this is something we're watching closely. But if we're not at B of A expecting a broad deterioration in the credit backdrop, this is something that's important for regional banks, for small caps, and obviously for the financial complex broadly. But I think overall, the backdrop leading into the crisis, what we saw there was sort of a different backdrop in terms of the health of financials, which look a lot different today. We've been more constructive we've been constructive on financials within both large and small caps, obviously watching the credit situation very closely. Today a lot of the lending has been to growth stocks, so a bit of a different backdrop than what we saw leading into the crisis. So we are more constructive on public equities than private equities from our concern, but watching all this closely, and at this point not expecting a broader credit crisis.
I imagine the stress testing scenarios have changed a bit over the past 3 weeks, and I wonder if you take a look at oil going to $145, $150 a barrel, which is some of the projections if this does go on for a prolonged period of time. Do you have a sense of how much that changes the underlying fundamental proposition for a lot of the companies that do seem more vulnerable?
Yeah, so typically, supply-driven oil shocks can be more negative for the market. The question will be whether the spike in oil prices, which at this point our commodity strategists are expecting oil to average, between $77, $78 a barrel this year. Given the risks right now, kind of averaging the scenarios of whether we see a quick resolution or whether this continues into 2Q. And higher oil prices can be positive.
For example, a banner or a headline.
My bad.
Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage.
Yep.
CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better. Another example of a fake headline that I saw yesterday: war widening. Here's a real headline for you for an actual patriotic press. How about Iran shrinking, going underground? You see, Iran's leaders are hiding in bunkers and moving into civilian areas. The only thing that is widening is our advantage. Not to mention our Gulf partners stepping up even more, now going on the offense, and have always been with us on the defense with collective and integrated air defenses. Our will, it is unshakable. Our options, maximized, and our capabilities still building. We're going up, they're going down. As I said from the start, President Trump holds the cards. He'll determine the pace, the tempo, and the timing of this conflict. His hand firmly on the wheel, as well as on the throttle setting. America first, peace through strength, in action. From day one, as our nation expects and the president demands, our warriors have fought with lethality, precision, and rapid innovation. In fact, today will be, yet again, the highest volume of strikes that America has put over the skies of Iran and Tehran. The number of sorties and number of bomber pulses, the highest yet.
Well, ramping putting them on every channel, aren't they?
Up. And quantity has a quality of its own.
I'm going to take this outside, have
every
me
tool
smoke.
Of AI, of cyber, of space, EW, counter UAS, you name it, we're employing it. Blinding, confusing, and deceiving our enemy. Because we know who the good guys are here. And the American people do too. And that makes my job simple. I serve God, the troops, the country, the Constitution, and the President of the United States, and answer only to those, all in service of victory on the battlefield and the military objectives that we've laid out from day one. Defeat the missiles, missile launchers, and defense industrial base, which I laid out today. Defeat the Navy and deny Iran the ability to have a nuclear weapon. Clear, decisive, achievable. And Admiral Cooper knows, the CENTCOM commander who we spent a couple of hours with last night, that in pursuit of those objectives, we have his back in every way. His commanders know that, and so do the troops in harm's way. Admiral Cooper gets what he needs, the assets, the authorities, the munitions, you name it. We will stop at nothing to win. War is hell. War is chaos. And as we saw yesterday with the tragic crash of our KC-135 tanker, bad things can happen. American heroes, all of them. And as I have with all of them, as we have, we will greet those heroes at Dover, and their sacrifice will only recommit us to the resolve of this mission. But war in this context and in pursuit of peace is necessary, which is why each day on bended knee we continue to appeal to heaven, to Almighty God's providence, to watch over and give special skill and confidence to our leaders and to our warriors. To those warriors who this nation prays for every single day, I hear from all of you out there who pray for them every day. Stay on bended knee and pray for them. I continue to say to them, Godspeed. May the Lord bless you and keep keep going. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today. Before I start with an update, I also want to address the tragic loss of our KC-135 refueling aircraft yesterday. The incident occurred over friendly territory in western Iraq while the crew was on a combat mission, and again was not the result, as CENTCOM has said, was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. We're still treating this as an active rescue and recovery operation. As CENTCOM announced this morning, 4 airmen have been recovered, and the Air Force and U.S. Central Command will provide updates as information becomes available. Please keep these brave airmen, their families, friends, and units in your thoughts in the coming hours and days. Our service members make an incredible sacrifice to go forward and do the things that the nation asks of them. It's a reminder of the true cost of the dedication and commitment of the Joint Force. We're also aware of a fire on board the USS Gerald R. Ford. We're thinking about the crew there who are injured in the fire. We believe and hope that everyone will be okay, and we're grateful for that. And for any further questions on that, we'd refer you to NAVCENT or to the Navy. This morning, we enter the 13th day of Operation Epic Fury, and we continue to make progress towards our military objectives. As the Secretary said, today will be our heaviest day of kinetic fires across the operating area. CENTCOM continues to attack ballistic missile and drone capabilities so that they are no longer a threat to U.S. forces, our bases, or our partners. They're continuing to destroy the Iranian Navy to ensure freedom of navigation, and this means going after Iran's mine-laying capability and destroying their ability to attack commercial vessels. And we're targeting their defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild the capabilities that can harm America's interests or our partners in the future. As Admiral Cooper said in his update on Wednesday, Iranian combat power continues to decline as a result of the continued strikes, as the Secretary talked about. We've attacked over 6,000 targets, and our strike packages continue to launch every hour, and we've maintained an unprecedented number of sorties up overhead of Iran. CENTCOM is now persistently over the enemy, and a result, we've seen a reduction in missile and one-way attack fires, as the Secretary said. In less than 2 weeks, we've rendered the Iranian Navy combat ineffective and continue to attack naval vessels, including all of their Soleimani-class warships, which were armed with anti-ship missiles and anti-aircraft weapons. We've made progress, but Iran still has the capability to harm friendly forces and commercial shipping, and our work on this effort continues. But I want to make something clear. The only thing preventing commercial traffic and flow through the straits right now, which there is some through the straits, is Iran. They are the belligerents here holding the straits closed, although there is some traffic moving through there. We've made it a priority to target Iran's mine-laying enterprise, their mine layers, the naval bases and depots, in addition to the missiles that could influence the straits. And CENTCOM continues to attack those efforts. And we continue to make progress on the industrial base to include factories, weapons, warehouses that are stored in, and we will continue to do so in the coming days, especially today. Now, as I often do, I want to share a little bit about our incredible joint force. Today, I'm going to talk about our incredible artillery force comprised of American soldiers and Marines who've been sinking ships, destroying depots, and launching Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, precision strike missiles, or PrSMs, and high-mobility rocket systems, or HIMARS. From outside Iran, our Army and Marine artillerymen are hitting sites that Iran relies on to project power beyond their borders and protect our deployed. In just the first 13 days of this operation, our artillery forces have made history. They fired the first precision strike missiles ever used in combat, reaching deep into enemy territory. They've used Army ATACMS to sink multiple ships, including a submarine, and they've done all of this with the precision and determination that comes from relentless training and trust in each other and in their weapon systems. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of speaking with some of our young soldiers from the 3rd Battalion, 27th Field Artillery Regiment out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the unit and the crew that fired the first precision strike missiles. The soldiers I met came from all over this great country: New York, Texas, Delaware, California. One had been in the Army only 6 months and been in the unit for 2 months and was already deployed. He was the youngest at 20, but you would not know it from the way that they talked about their mission. The others were 22 and 28 years old. They spoke with a sense of calm pride, purpose, and clarity that tells you clearly they understand the weight of what they're doing and the people who depend on them. I asked them to walk me through a fire mission. I asked not just what they do, but what they feel, especially those first crew members on this particular mission. These soldiers basically live in these vehicles behind us. The cab, very tight, 2 folks sit next to each other with the crew commander behind them. It's jammed inside there with their personal weapons and kit, and they sit and wait for a fire mission. And when that fire mission comes, they close the armored doors and begin to program the systems. They then throw 3 simple toggle switches, and 10 to 15 feet behind them, a rocket motor ignites, and the round is headed downrange to do the nation's work. I asked these youngsters, these young, awesome Americans, what does that feel like? And one of them just looked at me and said, "It's awesome." No drama, no hesitation, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night, in the sun, the rain, and the snow, flawless execution. Their Marine counterparts are out there doing the same thing every night. Same work, same pressure, same expectations, same results. And we hand tremendous and enormous responsibility to these young Americans, and they carry it with a level of maturity, grit, professionalism, and tenacity that makes me incredibly proud to be a part of their joint force. Their parents and families would and should be incredibly proud. And their leaders and I trust them to do the deeds that they must do in difficult circumstances every single time. I also want to touch today I want to touch for a moment today on their leadership. These young Americans are led by extraordinary young leaders out at the tactical edge. Yesterday, the battery commander and her NCO were there with this crew on the same video screen. The 2 of them hardly said a word. They didn't have to. In their eyes, and in particular the commander's eyes, you could see the quiet trust and confidence she had in these soldiers and the rest of their battery. It came through loud and clear, and we appreciate their leadership. When I asked these soldiers yesterday, what is it that you need from the Secretary and I, they looked at each other, paused for a moment, and looked back at me and said, "More rounds, sir." It was awesome. So thank you to those soldiers and Marines out on the firing line supporting our mission, and thank you to their families. Our joint force will continue today to deliver dynamic fires against the enemy from the land, sea, and air. We remain deeply grateful for their service. And for the third time today, I'll mention that today will be our busiest day. This mission remains complex, dangerous, and difficult, and every service member has a family waiting for them to return home. And I want to thank all of the families today who are supporting their deployed forces and those doing the work here in the States. On a personal note today, I also want to thank the Joint Staff and the team that I have the pleasure of working with, some of them right here in this room. They are working 24 hours a day to deliver the options that we must to the Secretary and to the President. Today, as I close, I ask that we remember our fallen and those participating in the recovery operations to bring home our lost KC-135 crew, that we keep those service members and their families in their thoughts and prayers. Those are very, very, very tough days when that knock comes on the door for people on both sides of the door. Again, thank you to our deployed, thank you to our fallen, and to their families, and to the Joint Force. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Strait of Hormuz and when it might be fully operational again? And how do we ensure our objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon if they continue to align with our adversaries?
So I'll take it and chime in, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like it all. I want to emphasize what the chairman said about that. The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that. Now, there's a reason why we chose as one of our primary objectives to destroy the Navy. We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for 40 years. It's key terrain. They've used it as leverage. The world is seeing what they'll do to fight back in that context. And so we've heard them talk about taking various measures, and we're planning for all of them. So we have a plan for every option here. We're working with our interagency partners, and that's not a strait we're going to allow to remain contested or with a lack of flow of commercial goods. So we're aware of that. We're laser focused on our military objectives, but also want to make sure our partners across this government understand we're working with you to make sure that energy flows. And that's an important part. And the second question was on the nuclear capability. As we've said from the beginning, their strategy shifted just from defense of their nuclear facilities to a conventional umbrella of so many missiles that no one would challenge their ability to the opportunity to defeat their nuclear capabilities. And it was growing by the day. So with Iran at its weakest moment, going at that ballistic missile capability creates an opportunity to ensure at any point in time that Iran give up their nuclear capabilities, or if need be, you prevent them from doing it, as the president has done once already with Operation Midnight Hammer, obliterating those capabilities. So the conventional side is a huge part at getting at denying nuclear capabilities, if you have anything you want to add.
Appreciate the question. I'm not going to comment on what we may or may not be thinking about any options that the Joint Force could be tasked to do in the future, whether it's on the nuke matter or anything else. Thank you.
But we have options.
The mines that are in the Strait of Hormuz and our ability to, obliterate them.
We retain a range of options to solve a whole variety of problems, and that is one set of options that we have, that we hold on to. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. Thank you both for the update. ABC News has updated its story from yesterday, clarifying that the FBI report on Iran possibly striking California was unverified. I just want to ask you, what impact did that original reporting have on the public, and does Iran even have the ability to conduct such a strike? And then just really quickly on another note, what role did Vice President Vance play in counseling the president on this conflict? Can you speak to some of the media reporting suggesting that there is a division there?
That reporting on California obviously had no impact on us. Also, we're used to bad reporting. We're used to ill-informed reporting. And so it doesn't change how we operate, but we engage with it to prove that it's not true, as CENTCOM has done so well. Ultimately, I look at the reports on a daily basis of our interagencies all over it. My partners across government are all over looking for indications and warnings, keeping the American people safe. There's a lot of things Iran has said it can do for a long time, thankfully, including engaging their proxies and getting them involved in the fight, which they haven't been able to do. So we're watching that very closely. And as far as the vice president, he's an incredible member, leader of this team as well, alongside the president and the Secretary of State. I can't say enough great stuff about this team, how it works together, how it provides options to the president, and the vice president every single day is a key voice in that, an indispensable voice in that, actually. In the middle there, red tie. Yes.
Michael Gordon, Wall Street Journal. Iran is thought to have 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium in at least 2 locations and several thousand kilograms of lower purity material. Can you conclude this mission successfully without physically taking control of that material, or are you counting on diplomatic negotiations to provide some measure of control leading to its removal? You've mentioned missiles, you've mentioned drones, military industry. You haven't stipulated that taking care of that material is a mission priority.
We've said from the beginning, deny Iran nuclear weapons as a core mission. We retain options across the spectrum to ensure that they never do. And President Trump has said that. And that's why this mission actually couldn't have been possible without Midnight Hammer. Without what those B-2s did going across and obliterating those facilities, that set the condition for the opportunity to do what we're doing now. So the president's kept his eye focused on nuclear capabilities. And I will say we have a range of options, up to and including Iran deciding that they will give those up, which of course we would welcome. They weren't willing to do in negotiations. I would never tell this group or the world what we're willing to do or how far we're willing to go, but we have options for sure. Right next to him.
Me?
No, right there.
Right here, sir? Right here? I'll take it for
Corner
sure.
zip right there, yep. No, you, yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you please provide some guidance? It's been 13 days in. Can you please provide some guidance, both of you, about the strike on the girls' school? There's been reporting that indicates that preliminary inquiry, even though it's ongoing, has determined that the airstrike was carried out by the United States. Given that there is another competing narrative that this was done intentionally, can you provide us with some guidance about whether this was the case? Secondly, we're also getting, we had heard yesterday from Energy Secretary
Let's get some
Wright,
cash.
that said that the U.S. Navy would not be ready until the end of the month to provide escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that an accurate assessment? And if so, can you tell us why?
The Strait of Hormuz.
Well, with an issue on your first topic, an issue of such seriousness.
Those are the best types of moose.
We're not going to let
Whores.
reporting lead us or force our hand into indicating what happened in a particular situation, because the truth matters. So I can report that CENTCOM has designated an investigating officer to complete a command investigation. The command investigation will take as long as necessary to address all the matters surrounding this incident. And the investigating officer is from outside CENTCOM and is a general officer. But I will note to this group and to the world, there's only one entity in this conflict between us and Iran that never targets civilians. Literally never targets civilians. I look at the process that's used on dynamic strikes or on boat strikes and others. We have a very high fidelity process in that case. So we don't target, Iran does. We will investigate, and we'll get to the truth, and we'll share it when we have it. Absolutely. And what was the second
About the Strait of Hormuz, about the Navy, Secretary Wright.
It's a tactically complex environment, and before I think we want to take anything through there at scale, we want to make sure that we do the work pursuant to our current military objectives to do that safely and smartly. So we're continuing to develop.
And we do a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is dynamic, but this is, I think, almost by 20% the largest day of strikes. And as I said, our intelligence just gets better and better. That feedback loop feeds itself. And as we refine those targets, it exponentially increases what we can.
Yeah, I don't believe for a second that the United States hit that school. I don't believe it for a second. That's precisely something Iran would do to try and blame America on. And of course, any left-leaning news source is likely going to latch on to that because, you know, anything to incriminate Donald Trump and make America look bad, you know, that's just how the liberal media works.
Busy day of strikes. Last week, you guys...
I really hate that that's true. I really wish we could trust the news. I still watch it. Got to know what the other what the idiots are talking about, you know.
Off weapons launched at range to more overhead strikes. Can you now say that these strikes today are going to rely entirely on stand-in over-the-top weapons, or are standoff range weapons still in play?
It's a great question. I can say, based on the report I read this morning at 0600, only 1% of the munitions we're using today are standoff munitions. The rest are over-the-top, the types of which we have a plethora. Which was our goal from the beginning. You use standoff, which are more exquisite. You transition to a much larger magazine depth, ensuring that you're preserving all the capabilities you have and your options across the force. Absolutely.
Has Iran placed any mines
Right
since
here.
the war
Lisa.
started? Is Iran placing new mines?
We've heard them talk about it, just like you've reported recklessly and wildly about it. But we have no clear evidence. We have no clear evidence of that.
Thank you,
Right
sir.
here.
Mr. Secretary, given everything the U.S. have accomplished in the last 24 hours, as of today, how do you define success in this military option? And has that definition changed from day one? And also regarding Iran government telling countries hosting U.S. American bases that they could face attacks, what is the Pentagon doing about that?
First question is, what is the objective?
How do you define success as of today?
Yeah, I mean, we define success, again, 12 days in, 13 days in, by reaching the military objectives that we've laid out. Launchers, missile launchers, defense industrial base, their Navy, the ability to project power in the naval sense, leading toward denying them to get a nuclear weapon. And we've got internal metrics that look at that we represent to the president, who then can decide how long he'd like to continue in pursuit of those military objectives. So that hasn't changed. There's a lot of things a lot of people talk about. What they want us to do, or what we should do, or what we should stay focused on. And again, I've addressed this before, and I think it's worth saying again, mission creep, or expansive missions, or prolonged timelines, or democracy building, or nation building, you name it, has not been part of what President Trump wants us to be involved in. We're solving for something here, this particular mission set, but also recognizing this country's conditioned to previous leaders, whether it's George W. Bush or Barack Obama or Joe Biden, who had these expansive, nebulous mission sets that kept changing all the time. So the timeline kept moving, and we kept pouring more troops in and on the ground. And then pretty soon everyone wonders, like I did in Afghanistan in 2012, what's our mission here? I'm not clear what it is. We're taking the opposite approach here and saying we've defined these objectives, we're pursuing those objectives. The president has his hand on the throttle and will decide ultimately when they've been reached that serve the purposes of the United States of America, American interests first.
And regarding the threats to countries hosting...
Yeah, right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Polls show over 80% of Republicans support the president's military action in Iran, but there's some consternation in parts of the party, particularly from your fellow Fox News alum, Tucker Carlson. He called the war disgusting and evil, and then said of unconditional surrender, which the president has called for, means foreign troops get to rape your wives and daughters. Have you heard these comments, and what's your reaction to them?
We're busy executing on behalf of great patriotic Americans with a clear mission that's 47 years overdue. We're going to execute on that regardless of what people say about it. Yeah, right here.
You have said that the U.S. military has essentially aerial superiority, naval superiority over Iran, yet we're not escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Why? How did you not plan for this?
We planned for it. We recognize it. Because ultimately, we want to do it sequentially in a way that makes the most sense for what we want to achieve, and ensure that we're sending the right signals to the world when we do so. So when Chris Wright speaks or we speak, it's based on a full assessment of what we're up against, what we want to say to the world, how we want them to see and understand the conflict. It's like this whole idea of the war widening. That's what the press wants to make it look like it's widening and chaos is ensuing. No, we're actually closing in on grabbing hold of and controlling what objectives we want to achieve and how we want to achieve them. It's called shaping operations and setting the conditions. But when you shape the environment, you don't always tell I mean, foolish political leaders and foolish military leaders of the past will hang an exact deadline on it.
Right.
Or here's exactly when we'll do what we're going to do, or here's how long
Trump
it's going to take
has no
us.
plan.
And
Trump
then if you
has
meet
no
that,
plan. Come
maybe
on.
you meet it.
Like
But if you don't,
it's
you fail.
intelligent to
If you
drop the
we
plan
know
for
exactly
a
what we're
world
shaping
to
and
know.
why.
Shut up.
We're sending those signals working across the interagency. The Strait of Hormuz is something we've paid attention to from the beginning. And the American people can rest assured we will ensure that our interests are advanced, no doubt. Yeah, right there, green jacket.
Mike Bress with the Washington Examiner. How many American casualties have there been, and where were the American
Not
service
very
members
many.
when they were injured?
I mean, it's a bunch of return to duty. So we've had the large majority have gone in for some medical treatment and return to duty. We've had in Kuwait, Jordan, down across the southern flank a little bit, a variety of places, most from one-way attack strikes.
But I want to clarify that. I think what we've
And
tried to do
Saudi
here
Arabia. Somebody
is
asked
clarify those numbers rather than saying KIA or WIA wounded. Be more clear about that because the overwhelming majority, almost 90%, thank God, are returned to duty. Minor injuries returned to duty, and so that number can look a certain way, and our job is to add some fidelity to it. Absolutely, right here. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David Zia, Real America's Voice. Can you share what types of munitions have been used on the attacks on commercial shipping? Have any hit mines? And are USVs, unmanned surface vehicles, being used? And just a quick follow-up, were there any arrests in Fort Campbell with the drone thefts?
I'm not familiar with the Fort Campbell thing. The strikes that Iran has taken on shipping up north in the vicinity of Kuwait have been, I believe, from surface-to-surface missiles up there. We've not seen any USV activity out of Iran that we've seen in the Gulf at this point.
Nor have any ships hit mines or anything
Yeah, there's
like
been
that.
no.
It's still flowing
thank
through
you.
the
There's
strait.
been no strikes that we.
One more time, right here.
Thank you so much. Heather Mullins, Lindell TV. My first question is, President Trump is set to meet with Xi Jinping in a couple weeks. How much support, if any, has China been given the Iranian regime? And then the second question, just, I know President Trump calling for an unconditional surrender from Iran. Given that the U.S. is working in partnership with Israel on this whole operation, is Iran expected to meet demands of both countries or just the U.S., and what are those demands?
Well, we're proud to partner with the incredible capabilities the Israelis have, but our objectives are our objectives, and so when those are met, as we meet those, we'll set the tempo of when those are met. What was the first question?
He's meeting with Xi Jinping in a couple
the president
weeks.
has a historic relationship with President Xi. They look forward to having a dynamic conversation.
China said something quite
Two
interesting.
powers. President Trump ultimately has established terms of that relationship, which advance the United States of America, and that meeting will continue to ensure we advance that. That's all I've got. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
China said something very interesting recently.
And that concludes that press conference there with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, as well as Air Force General Dan Kane, providing an update there on Operation Epic Fury. Just about 40 minutes in length was that press conference. So if you are just joining us on Live Now from Fox, I wanted to quickly recap for you what we did hear from Secretary Hegseth as well as General Kane. So Secretary Hegseth.
All right, guys. What was it? The minutes that just came out at 8:30. Looks like we're doing all right. Looks like we're right on target. I don't pretend to know exactly what all that, is about, but I know I have known, but I've had a lot going on, so I don't really keep up with all these finer details, but when it comes to stuff like this, ignore these trading signals. I feel like I have to tell you guys that every single time it happens, because I would hate for somebody to attempt something like that and then end up getting themselves screwed up. Because, what a great segue to the next point I wanted to make. There was a guy yesterday or the day before who lost $50 million on a crypto trade due to high slippage. Can you imagine? Yikes. Like, ouch. Got wrecked because of high slippage. You know, there's an easy way to fix that. Whatever exchange you're using, you can adjust the amount of slippage that you can allow for. So, while that certainly does suck for that guy, and I hate to see people get upside down like that, that's massive. That's like, you know, throw yourself out a window massive. I hate to see that happen to anybody, but ultimately I feel like there's a degree of user error in there. You gotta be careful, man, especially with crypto. You know, you have no way of doing anything about it. All right, for pre-market, we're looking mostly green, which, you know, man, I see a lot of people panicking over the stock market here because of the war, and people acting like this is just such a devastating thing for their portfolio. And I would just like to point out that every single time in modern history that we've ever had any sort of financial disaster or a collapse of some market or anything like that, immediately after, the next few years are some of the best that we ever had, which strengthens the idea of buying the dip. So, you know, unless you're day trading and got heavily invested in some, you know, very speculative plays, you know, this isn't something that any savvy investor is all that upset about, right? We know better, don't we? So, you know, this presents awesome buying opportunities. Things are on sale when they go crashing, especially when it's a good company that we all know. And look at this, though. This is the ETF heat map. Okay? Now, it's widely known and factually proven that, statistically speaking, if you invest in some sort of ETF that gives some sort of dividend and then reinvest those dividends over a 20-year period, you are much, much, much more likely to profit than you are trying to time the market. If you just steadily add money in to ETFs or something you believe in, you are like, I think it's like 7 or 8 times more likely, or 7 or I forget the numbers. I don't want to misquote. So that being said, coupled with the point I just made, all these ETFs being so down, I mean, dude, there are so many buying opportunities right now. Just look at them. That's all of them right there. That's all the ETFs in America. Now, to strengthen my point, this is just the change over the last day. You want to see the change over the last year? Boom. All green. But look at the numbers. 18, 20, 28, 25, 20, 20, 23, 19, 20, 30, 30, 30. Dude. My point exactly, right? Year over year, you stand to profit more if you just dump money into an ETF instead of trying to time the market on highly speculative plays. This is just the most sensible thing to do. Now, do I do that? No. I'm a risk taker, you know, and I mean, just look at it. It speaks for itself. That's in a year. That's in a day. That's a buying opportunity. I've never seen a more clear-cut buying opportunity than that right there. I'm not even going to bother with the week or the month. Who cares? If you're going to long-term it, the numbers speak for themselves. All right, check it out. Dollar just fell back below that $100 mark. I was worried about what might happen when this breaks above 100, and as you can see, it broke above 100 and took silver with it, which is very odd to me to see silver running as the dollar is running. But to be clear, as it's come down a tiny bit, let's see what time this is, the last bit. So 4 a.m., between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And this also is silver futures. Let's go to silver. 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Silver was coming down as the dollar was rising. All right? Let's keep that in mind. So, yeah, you might be seeing silver going up, and it looks like it's happening around the same time the dollar is going up, but it's not. Dollar is coming up between 2 and 4 a.m. Silver between 2 and 4 a.m. Here's 2 a.m. There's 2 a.m. There's 4 a.m. Soon as the dollar starts to come down, silver started running up hard. Silver came up, what is this? Say, it's up a percent of $1 and change. And the silver futures, the short-term silver futures. Do you know the significance of the short-term futures versus the long-term futures? You see how this says May 2026? That means these contracts for these futures, they expire in May. They're meant to be short-term investments. Do you know what the difference is between when it says May and it's a closer date versus, say, September? The ones that are further out, by and large, are speculating on a different segment of the silver market. The shorter term, in this case, May, this is largely affected by the industrial need of silver. Now, what do you think? What do you think changes in the buying habits of major industries that depend on silver for their products or whatever that they're making? What do you think happens in those buying trends of these of the industry? Nothing. If anything, it speeds up. Industry needs silver. They will continue to buy, and they will only it will likely pick up because they're just trying to they're forecasting it going up, so they want to get it before it goes up. So they're likely going to buy more if they believe that it's going to go, further up. The futures that are further out, mostly those are affected by your average everyday trader and collector of silver. Those are on jewelry and shit like that. So in my opinion, investing in the shorter term for silver is just the better bet. Just because your market that I don't want to say is forced to buy silver, but they're not going to stop buying silver. They have to buy silver because they need it for their industry. It's not going to slow them down. Nothing slows down progress. All right. Shut up. And as usual, if you want to drop a ticker symbol in the chat, I'll be happy to pull something up. Crypto's doing great in the last day. Curious how the week is going. Yeah. That ETF map is just so that's just so great. Sucks for the day, but damn that year always will be green. Unless we suffer some major economic setback. Bitcoin. Come on, baby, push. It's not liking that 73,000 or 73,000, but you know what? It's going to blast through it. Short of some other economic catalyst, it's going to blast right through it. And really and truly, man, what I was saying yesterday about the $74,000 mark, these are strong highs. These are very strong highs that are being made. We might blast right past 74 and continue on to 75. Now, we could get knocked back down from wherever it stops its little run here. But I don't see this slowing down. This is probably going to run through the weekend. If anything, Sunday, which is always a major day for crypto. If we continue up like this all the way until Sunday, then Sunday we'll have probably a massive correction day. That's how it usually tends to be. Oil coming back down a tiny, tiny bit. I think we're going to pretty much bounce around in this channel until some sort of definitive news comes around. Now, if you haven't noticed, I added a few other little indicators in I changed the layout of certain things. All right. Why don't we go to Bloomberg, see what these jerks are talking about?
That's what business is about. So there's some of that, but it's always a cost-benefit analysis. But yeah, for example, the price of air freight from Asia to Europe, you can still fly there. It's just that the price has doubled. Same with fuel prices and ocean freight have nearly doubled. The bunker fuel that the carriers have to pay, they're passing that through. There's a huge number of new surcharges coming in ocean freight. You got war risk surcharges, sort of insurance premiums, and then fuel. There's a long list of these things. It's hard for people to keep track of, but you can't just pause your business. That's not how this works.
Yeah, exactly what he just said. You can't just pause your business. What did I just say? So they will continue to buy silver. That was the point I was making. I'm going to go to Schwab.
We did make a couple of closes above that point, but 710 was never really breached with any kind of strength or lasting effect here. So now when we look at our moving averages that we follow, we can see that our trajectory here has been kind of sideways recently. Our area that we have been trading within are kind of like shorter term range here. We have our moving averages mostly coalescing around 750 roughly here.
Meta.
So yesterday's session brought us below all of them, so now we have a confluence.
Yeah, Meta, interestingly enough, if you look at the heat map, Meta's one of the only things that's down any major amount. Isn't that odd? Well, let's see. WTF. I hate Facebook. Despise Facebook. But I'm all over it. There's so much BS out there. Social media is like the king of BS. Be careful of the stuff that you take, the news that you take in, man, because good God, the majority of people believe the BS they see on social media, man. Facebook in particular. I did a little rant. I made a video about the similarities of writing styles between a lot of the BS stories on Facebook. It's odd too because I'm seeing, like I've said before, I'm a writer, and I notice writing styles, and yeah, I've noticed a lot of left and right leaning posts on Facebook that are complete BS, but there's a very similar writing style between the left and right leaning write-ups. It's very strange to me, but if we want to expand this theorizing that I'm doing, and keep in mind I am theorizing, but it seems to be that you've got the same group of people just writing stories just to stoke the flames of division. I mean, and if you think that there aren't people out there in the world that have a vested interest in your anger and your hatred and our division, you are sorely, sorely delusional. Because, oh yes, they do. And you know what? The majority of the posts of that which I speak are posted by foreigners from various places, mainly the Middle East, actually. A lot from Russia. I mean, obvious places, but people don't look at that when they see these things on Facebook. They'll read a headline, they might read the first paragraph of a big write-up, and then comment as if, I knew it all along. It was BS to begin with. So many things on Facebook that are just complete and utter garbage. So be careful. Just please be careful of the nonsense that you allow to strike your eyes, because God, there's a lot of it. Right. I had Newsmax up, but I do like Newsmax. However, they have just too many damn commercials. Okay. What's all live now from Fox?
To be here tonight leading this U.S. delegation with the senior leaders from across.
Oh, boy, do I have something hilarious. And, slightly effed up. Did you guys hear what the CEO of Palantir said? Whew, hot mic. Man. Let's see. Come on, don't let me lose it. The CEO of Palantir said something wild. Damn it. I can't find it, damn it. Anyway, well, you know what? I'll just Google it. Because this is worth mentioning. This is insane. Palantir CEO Alex Karp, a former progressive, has recently taken a critical stance against the Democratic Party, arguing that they neglect males and push unworkable ideas, particularly regarding immigration. Karp has stated that the Democratic Party completely neglects males and that its general vibe suggests there is something wrong with men who have high testosterone, which he finds unappealing. Karp believes that a high percentage of Democrats privately acknowledge that many of their public positions, specifically on immigration, are unworkable. He argues that labeling resistance to unrestricted immigration as bigotry is a mistake that pushes voters away. Yeah. And just a few days ago, Karp stated that his AI technology would, quote, lessen the power of highly educated, often female voters who vote mostly Democrat, while increasing the economic power of working class, often male voters. His recent comments and alignment with technological disruption are perceived as a shift in or direct pitch to the GOP, particularly as he encourages the party to be more courageous and vocal. He's also faced criticism for his vocal support of and close work with government agencies like ICE and his stance on international conflicts, which often aligns with more hawkish view than some progressive Democratic voters. Well, do you know what Palantir does? Despite these criticisms of the party's current direction, reports from mid-2024 suggest that Karp had previously supported Kamala Harris and found it difficult to work with the Trump administration due to co-founder Peter Thiel's influence. Do you know what Palantir does? Come on now. Keep up. The people that were writing this stuff were acting like, oh my God, oh my God. I found that to be hilarious. But the thing about masculinity, he's not wrong. We live in a society here in America where I don't want to say the general consensus because it's not the general consensus. It's a select minority, an increasing minority of people in this country, that masculinity is somehow bad. Yeah, say that when we get struck by Iran. How much you're going to want that masculinity to come save your ass. Feminism. I fully support toxic masculinity just to kind of, balance the scales of some of these soy boys we've got in our world these days. None of whom would survive in most other countries. Okay, look at that. Bitcoin's about to bust through that 73,000, baby. Come on. Don't you know, pump it up. We got to pump it up. I am waiting on a transfer that's likely going to take a week. I can't invest in shit. It's killing me. It's killing me. It's killing me. Right now, there's some golden opportunities. Let's go see what Bloomberg's saying.
Narayan is stepping down after 18 years in the role, and the concession being maybe this isn't the right guy to lead Adobe as they're facing all these AI threats.
Maybe I'll finally be able to cancel my subscription because I've been trying for many, many years, and it just the payment
just
continues.
Keep it, Photoshop yourself,
recurring. All right, we're looking obviously at oil, just under $100 a barrel right now. You can see Brent crude trading at 98.69. So, you know, we have been over 100 in the past few hours. We're trading in essentially that range. S&P futures right now up 0.5%. We lost 1.5% in the cash trade yesterday. And the 10-year yield is also coming down a bit as investors feel comfortable buying those treasuries 4.24%. I'm looking really, though, at the 2-year yield. It's getting closer and closer to the upper range of the Fed's target at 372, 373. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. The U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, spoke in a press conference this morning.
We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured.
Good.
Joining us now is Anne-Marie Horgeron, Bloomberg's chief political correspondent and co-host of Surveillance. Anne-Marie, every message you get, be it from the U.S. Hegseth, be it...
Let's go check out live now.
Seen in public, his statement was read out by Iranian state TV. Hegseth also promising today will be the toughest day of strikes yet against Iran, even as rescue operations are underway for 4 of 6 service members who died when a refueling plane went down in western Iraq.
That sucks.
A U.S. refueling aircraft went down in western Iraq overnight. 4 of the 6 crew members on board now confirmed dead. The cause still under investigation, but CENTCOM says it was not shot down. That's now 11 U.S. service members killed since the war began. And back home, the cost of the war
That is tragic.
is showing up at the gas pump.
Of course it is. It's not a surprise to anybody.
It's a strange world that we live in, except that, you know, I think what we're all starting to realize is that when oil spikes, it generally doesn't stay up very long. The market figures a way to work around it.
Well,
whether that's, as you mentioned, allowing Russian crude to come on the market that hadn't come on the market, or what the Saudis are doing. Years ago, they built a pipeline that goes over the Red Sea, specifically in case the Strait of Hormuz ever got shut down. Well, fortunately, they're now starting to run oil through that pipeline. They can't get their full output through that pipeline, but they may be able to get 4 million barrels. They've been running 700,000, and they're going to up it to 4 million, right? So there are all these workarounds. Venezuela is starting to come back online. U.S. producers producing the most they ever have. The market can't replace all of the oil that's been lost, but it's figuring out ways to replace some of the oil.
Right. I mean, the math doesn't work to replace all of it. And to be fair, too, the solutions you're talking about are longer term. These are not like, it's not going from 400,000 to 4 million or 700,000 to 4 million in a day or a week.
You guys heard about this, the 4 drones that we turned up missing from, what was it, from a military base? Yeah, a U.S. military facility at Fort Campbell. Remember also the story about how Iran was threatening to attack California with drone strikes? Okay, first of all, Iran is 12,000 miles away. They don't have drones with that kind of range. And then some drones turned up missing from our own military base? I mean, seems awfully strange, doesn't it? On two different fronts. For one, it seems like perhaps a false flag about to be started up. However, why would Iran actually attack California when Washington D.C. is on the complete other side of the country? Well, if they are planning that, then I think announcing something like that, if that's really your plan, would be foolish. Okay? While Iran definitely sucks, they're not stupid. So I do believe, if there's truth to Iran actually saying that they were going to attack California, I believe that might be a diversionary tactic, as if we have such a small amount of resources that we might send everything out to California and leave the East Coast unguarded. You know, just a these are the little light bulbs that go off when I hear these stories. But I find it awfully strange that after this threat was made by Iran, after that threat was made, then 4 drones turned up missing. Very strange. Very strange indeed. Also, another conspiracy related idea that seems a little odd. I think I saw somewhere in the news where Hawaii was getting blizzard-like conditions. They're firing up HARP. Is Iran about to have a devastating earthquake? I sure hope so. This shit with Iran is such a long time coming, man. It is such a long time coming, and finally we have a president that has the balls to do it. This is going to go on for a while. Make no mistake.
It's like crazy. We need 20 million barrels of oil.
Oil.
Check overnight futures, right? And
oil.
We are starting to see that trend when it comes to JOLTS, is that the job openings are starting to be reduced across the board here. That just would highlight that we have a tightening labor market. We may also have a slowing when it comes to spending from a lot of these companies and businesses because of the efficiency gains with artificial intelligence and maybe some of the uncertainty when it comes to the macroeconomic environment, tariff policy, things of that nature here. So JOLTS is going to be a little bit more backward looking. That's actually going to be the January print, so we're about a month and a half behind here. And that'll be the one to kind of capstone the labor data that we've had over the last 7 days.
Yeah, and you know, with a 6 handle, right? I mean, I think that's like, you know, I think about when we had 7.
You can't see what you're hearing because it's beneath one of the other, what do you call it? I was just listening in before I pull it up. And
product does, or the product suite it has, it is perceived as the one that's going to be disrupted most in all the software vendors out there. So it's the
Let's see.
It's extremely old, so I don't know if it's all, you can use it all or not because it's so old. Or my grandfather, you know.
Of the product. I mean, none of that has changed. In fact, you know, one of the things we would want is to have them buy back some of their more shares, which has actually improved, but not at the extent that we would want it to.
Low going into this report, but I mean, this has been one of these names caught up in some of the downturn we've seen in software. But if you look at the last 3 years, I mean, that really speaks to the initial peak that this name saw from, of course, being one of these early adopters of broader AI, and it's then just really taken down that significant uptrend from, again, like years ago. So as far as expectations, they were pretty low, but obviously even a low bar was not low enough. So results did still beat expectations across the board. We saw adjusted earnings per share of $6.06. That was ahead of estimates on revenue of $6.4 billion, which was also ahead of estimates and rose about 12% year over year, showing this continued demand across its creative and digital experience segments. So AI-driven revenue is scaling quickly. Management did say that AI's first ARR more than tripled year over year, led by the strong uptake of Firefly, as well as their Acrobat AI assistant and Express. And
I don't care about Adobe.
Prices are going to stay up. Whether or not, you know, we have the war or not, they're going to stay up because at the $70 level or more, all because of, you know, we're not drilling for oil like we did before in the United States, and production numbers are going to come down. And when they do, when we need the oil, demand's up. We need it in the summertime when we're going on vacations, and we don't have it. We're going to have to pay more for it, Chrissy.
Jay, we do see some questions coming in here.
I
do want to get to some of them. Once again, you may have touched on them a little bit here, but could we dive a little bit deeper here? Because Ryan is asking where or who else could we get oil from to stabilize these prices?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're a good importer of Canadian oil in Mexico. But when the world produces 100 million barrels of oil a day, and it
uses
100 million. So it's not like we have a lot of excess. Especially in the United States, it's not like Iran. Iran produces about 3.5 million barrels a day, and the country uses 2.5 million barrels they sell in the open market. We're not like that. We have to, import a lot of our oil. The same thing with around the world. We just don't. There's not one country that produces so much that it's going to overtake, if you will, all the demand. Demand is up. It's going to continue to be up. And when we have that demand and we just don't have the oil, it's a little different than natural gas. Natural gas is a little bit different right now. We're producing a tremendous amount of natural gas.
Yeah, natural gas futures.
We're oversupplied with natural gas, so we're sending it overseas. as a net exporter of natural gas. But there's just no countries really that have a tremendous amount of oil that we can just tap into to help us.
And another viewer wrote in, how many refineries are in the U.S. that are operable?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot. I mean, but the old Urban Cowboy, you know, who remembers the John Travolta Urban Cowboy? Those are not plentiful. There's a dozen or so of those. There's smaller refineries. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of refineries that are starting to. There's discussions about smaller refineries, you know, in West Texas, because you have so much crude that's being produced in the Permian Basin. It's gone from 1 million barrels a day to 6 million barrels a day because of horizontal and fracking. Maybe some more refineries coming in to the Permian Basin, where you don't have one on every corner, but you have one like every 20, 30 miles. You have a refinery because there's so much oil out there, and it would be so much easier to transport through pipelines oil and make it into gasoline. Don't forget, I mean, only a third of the crude oil is for gasoline. You know, the other third is for jet fuels, transportation. The other third is for plastics, my glasses, your glass, everything else that goes along.
It's in everything.
Oil is used for a lot of products, not just for
everything.
As long as we need
Put it in my coffee.
And demand continues to go up, I don't think we'll ever see peak oil demand
there's
in
some
my
truth to
lifetime where we need more oil every day through it's gasoline or it's plastics or transportation.
I'm going to go grab a smoke. Market will be open in about 15 minutes. Don't touch that dial. I'm going to leave the heat map up.
Have we seen anything like this before? If we do see this prolonged conflict, are energy
I shall
markets
return,
ready to
baby.
handle that? Have we seen that in history?
Yeah, we have. And under the Democrats, when they don't want us to drill and prices go sky high, it was $147 a barrel under Obama. It was a different time. Biden, prices went up and stayed up. For us oil and gas producers, like, us at King Operating, it's same thing. It's like, well, we like higher oil prices, but it's the same thing. It's all about supply and demand. It's like the 100 million barrels I was talking about, in the world. If somebody did all of a sudden start producing 20 million barrels a day, like Venezuela, it's got the oil, it has the reserves, but doesn't have the infrastructure, and you can't get it out in your refineries. But if some country ever decided or found a way to produce another 20 million barrels, and the world was producing 120 million barrels a day, only using 100, prices would come down dramatically. But that doesn't happen. We consume every barrel of oil that we produce. So right now we're getting our hands on it. That's like commodities. I mean, it's like everything else and to do with economics and 101 and buy low, sell high. And if we need the oil, we don't have it, we're going to pay more for it. It's the same thing. And it's just the price will go up and down based on, consumption and supply. When, like right now, when prices are lower at the $50 to $60 level, people have come back and they're not drilling as many.
The train saved humanity. 1,000 people in an iron box.
Know your place.
We're going to the front. We take the engine, and we control the world.
Vistaprint prints everything you need to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, totes, and hoodies too, which means everyone can take your brand and sip it, work in it, gift it, ooh, style it, take it. Whoa, save a pen for me. Whether it's one of a kind or one for your whole team, at Vistaprint, if you need it, we print it with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
And comes through this strait. 90% of the money that Saudi Arabia makes comes through this strait. So it's hurting and it's not good. And but people will pay for oil, especially when the demand's up. We don't think about it. We take a lot of things for granted, about driving or about going, turning on your lights or doing a lot of things. And God bless our military. We take that for granted too, but that's a different story. But made me think of that, Christy. But just thinking about the supply and demand of oil when we don't have it and we want it, or demand continues to go up, we'll pay more for it, just like everything else.
And Jay, before I let you go here, just to wrap this all up here, people are seeing these higher gas prices when they're going to fill up their cars, their trucks, what have you. What are some key indicators people should be watching for to see whether this is going to stabilize or if it's going to keep climbing?
Yeah, and gasoline does go up and down based on the price of oil. And as long as this war's going on, as long as you see oil at $100 a barrel or more, you're going to pay more at the pump. That's, I said the other day, I said, hey, if you made the mistake of not filling your car up before you left for work this morning, you're going to pay more for it. And people called in and said, hey, yeah, I paid $5 more or $10 more for my tank of gas, going home than I did if I'd had, filled up in the morning. Just be ready for it. It's unfortunate that you have to pay more, but just to let you know that when oil prices are higher, you're putting a lot of people at work. I mean, there's the job creation with one rig drilling for oil and gas. I could do a 20-minute story on it, how good it is for the economy and how well it is when we drill for oil and gas, and the amount of money, one rig spends $100 million a year right now, $100 million, and that's trickled down of all different kinds of businesses. It's good for these small towns in Texas or New Mexico or Colorado, Wyoming, wherever you're drilling. People go out and eat. When people have money, they like to go out and eat. They like to buy things and buy donuts and dry cleaning and all the other things that goes along with it. So, us in the oil business, I'm a fourth generation, so I kind of, it's in my blood. But don't think it's just all bad about oil and gas. It is good. We need it. And as long as we have a need for oil and gas, like Billy Bob Thornton on Landman said, Christy, hey, it's a necessary evil, whatever it is, but it's something that we need, which is oil and gas. And we're going to continue, as long as there's a demand for it, we're going to have to continue drilling for it. That's just the way it is, because it's not going to come out anywhere else. There's no alternatives that's going to take over yet. So we're still drilling here in Texas. So come see us.
And I do appreciate that perspective, economically, how this might help as well. So thank you so much, J.R. Young, oil and gas expert, for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if you are just joining us, my name is Christy Matino. We are stepping away for a commercial break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You're watching live now from Fox. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we have been bringing you this live look inside this press conference, slated to start here any moment now. This was scheduled to begin about 6 minutes ago at this point at 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. Slightly delayed, but law enforcement will be providing an update this morning on the West Bloomfield synagogue attack. And we also do know Governor Gretchen Whitmer also set to be in attendance here as well. If you are not familiar with this story, I just wanted to recap the details of what we do know right now as we anticipate more details to be released here in the coming moments. Just after 12:15 p.m. yesterday, police began receiving calls about an active shooter at the synagogue, which also houses a learning center and was full of children at the time. According to sources, 41-year-old Ayman Mohammed Ghazali was armed with a rifle when he crashed a truck into the building, hitting and knocking a security guard unconscious. Another security guard was able to shoot Ghazali, who was found dead inside his vehicle. Authorities have not confirmed if Ghazali fired shots, but a high-level source told Fox 2 Detroit that they believe he did fire his weapon. The vehicle also caught fire, filling the building with smoke that led to some first responders suffering smoke inhalation. No other injuries were reported there. Ghazali is from Dearborn Heights. Sources close to the investigation say the suspect is from Lebanon and that his family was killed in an airstrike over the weekend amid the war with Iran. Dearborn Heights later confirmed, stating that he lost several members of his own family, including his niece and nephew, in an attack on their home in Lebanon. Officials say Ghazali was born in Lebanon in 1985 and entered the U.S. on May 10th of 2011 on an IR-1 immigrant visa as the spouse of a U.S. citizen. Fox News reports that according to DHS, Ghazali applied for naturalization on October 20th back in 2015 and became a U.S. citizen on February 5th of 2016. So then what was the motive? The motive for the attack is still under investigation at this time, but the FBI say they are treating it as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. The FBI has activated a digital media tip line for any witnesses who had photos or videos of the incident yesterday as well. So once again, we are still anticipating this to get underway here. But right now I want to head over to our Fox 2 Detroit team as they are speaking on this. Let's listen in.
In the parking lot, so it's good to have somebody out there who's watching as well.
It's incredible to think that you have to go through an armed guard essentially to go practice your faith, but that type of security is necessary and that training saves lives.
It does. Absolutely it does. And you're right, it's unfortunate that we have to be doing this today, but with my teams, the way I put it is, if you think about what it was like to go to church back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when nobody even had a thought about church security and people just went to church to worship, that's the way we want it to be.
What are some of the elements that people should be looking out for? Whether it's, you mentioned the ushers, you mentioned even the people that go practice faith. What should we be looking for?
Behaviors. When somebody's walking in, do they have their head down? Are they not engaging? Especially during a service, during a worship service. Is this person engaging? Are they participating in the worship? Or are they maybe on their phone doing different things? Where they sit sometimes can also be an indicator. For instance, they may sit down front, but they're on their phone. Okay, why are they doing that? And so, but it doesn't always mean that they're going to be a problem. Sometimes it may be somebody who's having a problem themselves and they just need somebody to talk to. So it's always good to engage with somebody that might be a concern. That's what we call a DLR, a high-tech term for don't look right. But if you see somebody like that, basically the way they're walking too, do they have a stiff leg, if they had a gun down their pant leg. So different types of behaviors could be something we want to be looking for.
Throughout your training programs, what are 3 things that you focus on, that you are imparting on the people that come to your clinics?
Well, the biggest trainings that we do is, like I mentioned, observation skills, but we also do verbal de-escalation skills. And then we also run scenario classes where we run through different scenarios. So if somebody comes in and does certain things, how are you going to act? You want to practice that.
So many people we talk about see something, say something. A lot of people don't want to be wrong. Like you mentioned, if you see somebody that looks maybe like they're a little off or something like that, maybe they are having a bad day and you don't want to say anything. What would you say to people in that instance? They don't want to say anything because they're unsure of if this person is an attacker or if this person is just going through a situation.
You mean if somebody notices somebody doing that? My recommendation was if they see somebody like that, talk to a staff member, somebody that works for the house of worship, and let them be the ones to make the approach.
Security Leaders Coalition, Mike Harville, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We'll be right back. We are awaiting the governor's news conference. We will take you there live as soon as she takes the podium. We'll be right back.
And thank you to our Fox 2 Detroit team. We did just want to dip into their coverage very briefly there. We are going to step away for a commercial break ourselves, as once again, we do anticipate this press conference set to begin here any moment now. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
All right. What is everybody doing? Market opening just moments away. And 3 minutes by my watch. What is Schwab saying?
A survey out in the next hour, and then also the jolts, just for a little bit of more of an update here as to how things are going. But yes, look, I mean, a more positive start to the day, it seems. Let's see how things go, because obviously, as we know, a very headline-driven market at this point, Nicole.
And we've already had back and forth action on the futures early.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You have a lot on NVIDIA today.
Well, yes, there's an interesting journal report out this morning, Nicole, about ByteDance. Let me just run you through the details here. They are saying that basically it's managing to get its hands on NVIDIA's AI chips here, and it's finding a way to sort of circumvent some of these export controls, it seems. So the details coming from the Wall Street Journal this morning, saying that ByteDance is assembling computing power with high-end NVIDIA chips outside of China to fuel its AI ambitions here. So it's actually working with a Southeast Asian company called Aulani Cloud, and it plans to use about 500 Blackwell systems in Malaysia, and totaling around 36,000 B200 chips. That's according to their sources. Now, this company is buying servers from a Silicon Valley-based company. So this is the way that they're managing to circumvent this at the moment. And that company assembles servers using NVIDIA's chips. So if this is completed, it could cost more than $2.5 billion, they're saying, as far as this arrangement.
That's nothing.
And the company was also operating as well already with about $100 million in hardware here. The most important part of this, I think, is that this has given a rise to the industry of middlemen. The Wall Street Journal points out, who arranged the data centers to be built with NVIDIA chips and lease the computing power to Chinese companies outside China, Nicole.
Right. Market opens right around the corner.
All right, folks, the SP's down 1% this week. Yesterday was the biggest sell-off.
Let's see what Bloomberg's saying. They're just running their damn commercials. There we go. Look at NVIDIA. Bang!
All right, that was a nice long bell. Gets you going for this market, which
Friday the 13th, baby, let's go.
This morning, up 272 points, up 0.5%. The S&P 500 is up 0.5% right now, up 34 points at 67.07. So you're back to the 6,700 level. I think that is notable. The Nasdaq 100 up 115 points, up more than 0.5%. And while Ulta Beauty and Adobe are the two big laggards, Ulta down 9% and Adobe up 7%. On the upside, you're seeing Coinbase and International Paper, Western Dig, Moderna. Those are some of the leaders. Lennar is up about 3%, even though they said that the broader market outlook was somewhat challenging. Sentinel-1 is to the downside here. So those are your earnings movers. We're going to go through all of these because Diane King Hall is going to have all the details, right? We're showing you some of the numbers. It's a preview to the details that Diane Jen King Hall has been researching and will tell us more about. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Nicole.
Lennar.
It's interesting to see the price action in Lennar because it was actually indicating lower originally in the pre-market, then it ticked higher. So we'll see if these gains hold today because they did actually miss expectations, and the challenges that have been surrounding the housing market persisted in the most recent quarter. It's the story that top brass at Lennar tells. In terms of how the company did, adjusted EPS coming in at 88 cents per share. That was a miss. The street was looking for more than that. Revenue coming in at $6.62 billion. That was also a miss in terms of what the consensus expectation was on adjusted EPS. The street was looking for 96 cents per share. Revenue, they were looking for $6.88 billion. So still a challenging market. New orders increased just 1% year over year to 18,515 homes. Deliveries did decrease 5% year over year.
All right. NVIDIA making a pump. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Dollar sitting right on that 100 mark. Silver futures, a little sideways. Silver itself, same. Oil futures, staying relatively flat. I'm pretty sure right now what you've got is a buy the dip opportunity, and nobody's really paying attention to all these futures at the moment. It's very short-lived, I'm sure. Bitcoin plowed above that $73,000 mark, just like I said it would. It seems to be struggling, though, just a little bit. I am trying to go to my senior analysts on Discord. See if I can get him. Let's see if I can get him. Help! Help! Let's see, baby. Woo-hoo-hoo. I did just recently set up Discord to be able to pull it up for you guys so I could incorporate this in. It doesn't look like I'm having any luck. I think I would have to disconnect my my stuff. I'll worry about that later.
Again, that was in line with expectations. Still healthy. ARR, annualized recurring revenue, that rose 22%.
Guess we won't be doing that.
The billion-dollar milestone at 1.11 billion. The number of large customers that annually grew 18%. So that's good for them. It highlights just continued enterprise adoption of the company's cybersecurity platform here. They did have some strength on their balance sheet. They're giving it significant flexibility for R&D acquisitions, et cetera. Again, the weak near-term guidance, Sentinel-1 expecting for Q1 between a penny to 2 cents per share, well below consensus estimates. Street was looking for 5 cents per share. So we'll see if it still has an uptick, Errol.
Yeah, you and I were both like, is it flat? Just zero?
Yes,
you know,
I was like, what
that's why I said flat.
Yes.
Because it's sort of going all over the place, but really right around that unchanged line, just turned positive. So we'll continue to watch that name. Sometimes you'll expect those earnings movers to move a little more dramatically.
A lot of green, baby.
Diane, that, you know, Mish made the point that she doesn't really want to take positions today. And most, 9 of the 11 sectors actually have up arrows today, but I wonder if we'll see some lighter trading today ahead of, the weekend. So We'll see. And then Meta delaying its AI model.
This latest iteration of it, that's the avocado model for Meta. This, according to the New York Times, they're pushing
Palantir
back
taking a dump.
New AI, or the latest iteration of their AI model, avocado. The model was originally targeted for release this month. It's now being pushed out to at least May, reflecting some performance concerns during testing. It doesn't mean that it's performing bad.
Damn, look at
but not up to
Palantir.
what their expectations were. Meta says it does.
Palantir bleeding out. Down almost a whole percent in less than 10 minutes. About 6 minutes, 7 minutes. I wonder what the catalyst is for that. They just had earnings. If you didn't know, Palantir let's dig a little deeper, shall we? I really want to get my senior analyst up on here, but I was having problems. So if you're watching, senior analyst, I am working on it. Let's see. Yep. Palantir engages in the business of building and deploying software platforms to serve as the central operating systems for its customers. It operates through the commercial and government segments. The commercial segment focuses on customers working in non-government industries. The government segment is involved in providing services to customers that are the United States government and non-United States government agencies. Its platforms are widely used in areas such as defense, intelligence, healthcare, energy, and financial services, supporting data integration, large-scale analytics, and operational decision-making. Yeah. I don't know if you were with me when I first got up on here this morning, but the CEO of Palantir said some funny stuff. He said some hilarious stuff about the left. All right. It's a lot of green. How are these ETFs doing? For the year, like I said, they'll always do good. Look at that. Look at that. That's just today. Everybody's dumping into them. This is like one of the safest investments are these ETFs. I'm speaking mainly to your Vanguards and those like it. As you can see, just about everything with a V is a Vanguard ETF. And as you can see, all these red dots, that's all Vanguard. These are all Vanguard ETFs. Every one of them is in the green over long term. Top 10. Look at the volume. It's actually kind of low. The lighter the blue, the higher the volume. The lighter the blue, the higher the volatility. You notice it's a very dark blue, which means they're not very volatile because they're pretty predictable. Over 1 year, no, that's some beta BS. Because, look at all of these. Over the last year, everything is up 20%-ish. As I stated when we first started today, the daily for all of the ETFs, that's all the ETFs in America, the daily was blood red. It was all red, okay? And I made the comparison to the year, which is very, very, very up. And basically, my point was that it is statistically proven that if you just steadily dump money into an ETF, such as these Vanguard ETFs, it's something crazy, like 5 times more profitable than trying to time the market and buying individual stocks. Because, as you know, or may not know, what an ETF is It's essentially an investment of a certain sector or a certain group of companies. Rather than buying individual stocks for each of those individual companies, you can just drop into a particular sector of the market and invest in that. I mean, they've got ETFs that range from, broken down by sector to broken down by many different things. And anyway, the point is, it's just a safer investment than trying to time the market. Now, higher risk, higher reward, right? So I get it when you try and time the market, because you make a hell of a lot more. Okay, dollar coming back down. Ultimately, that is good for things like Bitcoin and silver. Oil coming up a little bit on the futures. Yeah, right now I wouldn't say that oil is a sure thing as far as an investment is concerned. We're running a little high right now as we approach that $100 a barrel thing. But Trump is taking many steps to try and combat the rising cost of gas and the price of crude oil. There are many different things that people around the world are doing by injecting more supply into the market. Trump, that's what the world is doing. And then, of course, Trump wants to release some of our own reserves into our own market, which would be fantastic. And then, of course, if you didn't catch it, there was mention of building a new crude processing plant in Texas, which bodes very well for our price of gas. We haven't built a processing plant in over 50 years. We really should. Look, whether you're for or against oil, if you dream of a utopian future where we're not reliant on any fossil fuels and pollution and all that, I'm not going to get into that environmental stuff because, there are pros and cons about the argument. But oil is just so in our society. It's not just for gas and powering our machines, man. It's literally in everything. Can we find substitutions? Sure. Are they going to cost more? Probably. Will we gradually move away from fossil fuels? Probably. But not this century. Not in this century. Petroleum goes in everything. Plastics, fuel. I mean, everything. It's everywhere. If you had a sip of my coffee, you'd say some in here. Right. If anybody wants to drop a stock ticker symbol or a crypto ticker symbol in the chat, I'll be happy to pull it up. Bond yields are up on the 2, 5, and 10 year, not by very much, which is a good safe haven to guard against inflation or your dollar losing. Yeah. I'm not very much into the bond market. I don't do that myself. Look at that. Biggest gainers, Bioaffinity Technologies up 115%. Elong Power, the Oncology Institute. Silvaco, is this a silver mining company? I used to play heavily in the silver mining company department there. Silvaco, packaged software. Okay, not silver. Never paid dividends. Ouch. Yeah. The hell with this bounce. Overall, they look like a shit company. You could probably make some money though. 1 year price target of $9, huh? Has it ever been that high? Yeah. No, not $9. It has never been $9, and that's the price target for a year. Who the hell's coming up with that? It hasn't been above $4. Well, excuse me. It hasn't been. Its all-time high was 3 years ago. No, excuse me, a couple months ago. And they gave it a $9 price target. Get the fuck out of here. This looks like a good short-term play, and your opportunity probably already passed. I don't go for these no-name maybes. Sorry. Looks like our minutes. Biggest gainers in crypto. Man, yesterday it was down a whopping, I don't know how many percent, but I remember trashing it yesterday. Guys, don't buy the Trump coin. I mean, I'm all for it. Crypto's the Wild West of finance. It's great. I love it. But it's extremely volatile. This coin has zero utility. Short-term profitability, sure. Hey, do what you want to do. Melania coin, come on. Like, some of these are just so obviously garbage and useless. It's just a way to pump and dump, man. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to do it? Go get your cash, baby. I ain't hating. I'm just saying, don't have any illusions about the Trump coin being any kind of good long-term play. Come on. As soon as his presidency is over, it will never, ever, 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 ever see any kind of serious gains again. These are meme coins all the way. Trump and the Melania coin. Biggest losers. Look at that. If the biggest loser is only down 3%, I'd say that's a good day in crypto. Wouldn't you? That's pretty damn good. Biggest gainers, yeah, still okay. Biggest losers. KinderCare. Damn. I went to KinderCare when I was a toddler 40 some odd years ago. Why are they just now taking a dump? Acurx Pharmaceuticals, EverCommerce, Once Upon a Farm, Agape. I feel for you if you invested in any of these. And I hope all of you invested in every one of these. Let's get paid, baby. Let's get paid. Looks like crude's taking a tiny little tick up. Not much worth mentioning. Very going to be keeping a very close eye on silver. Okay, so it looks like Nvidia is up. Why do these things say it's down? What are you talking about? Like, what? Some of this shit's just gotta be. It's gotta be something that I'm looking at wrong. Wow, look at that. Metaverse Capital Corp, eh? Volume. Huh. Really? Look at that price. 5 zeros. Huh. Yeah. This isn't the best way of looking at things, because I find that often these numbers are not completely accurate. Or I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Because it seems like every time, like this right here, up 5 million %. Since when? Take a look at it. Is it actually up 5 million %? No, it's down. Like, is that all time? I guess it would have to be. Yeah, I mean, it's up to 5 cents. Not in the day. Ah, okay. So in a year. Yeah, this isn't a good example of what I meant when I said that these numbers don't always add up to me. But like I think yesterday I looked at beneficial holdings, over 1,000,000% up. This little graph that I've added on to the right here helps in my point, because up 1,000,000%. Okay, in the last year. I guess if I had done any more looking into it, I might have figured that out, huh? Keep in mind, we are live, and a lot of times I just run my mouth, baby. Not financial advice. All right, everything's up on a day. Looking good on the ETF front. Bitcoin, baby. Ethereum. Ethereum is past its. Ethereum is way past its expected run. Ethereum should be at $10,000 by now. Really? Where am I getting that figure from? My ass. But it really should. It really should be up there. But, I'm basing that on how it was predicted in the last bull cycle 3 years ago, 3.5-ish years ago. Ethereum following Bitcoin as per usual. Everything looking pretty good for the day, man. People buying that dip. What are you buying? Talk to me. Let's see what you got. Tell me what you got going on. If my Rumble would quit crashing over here, that'd be great. I don't know why it always crashes. Do you guys on Rumble, do you guys have the same issue with the program? And what platform do you use it on? Because I've got it on my tablet over here just because it crashes so often. I keep it up so that I know what's going on with it. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Drop a like button. Drop a like. I would appreciate it, baby. Me love you long time. Let me see if I can pull up my senior analyst, Mr. Tiramisu. That's his name. Tiramisu, named after the delicious Italian dessert. He is not Italian, nor is he delicious. I am trying to get... It's not... Yeah. Can you hear me? Huh. Weird. I think it's because I already have my camera active that I can't pull this up. I will dig into that later. Sorry, senior analyst.
I think the slight concern today was the revision of GDP for last quarter, the second revisions, down to 0.7% to the upside. So again, still positive, but maybe suggesting some slowness. If you look at consumer spending, that was a little bit slightly lower than estimates at 2% versus 2.4% as part of the PCE components. But, overall, durable goods were relatively flat considering an expectation of a slight increase. So, nothing great, nothing fantastic, but nothing I suggest out of the ordinary. The markets right now may have already adjusted to some of these, weaker than expected numbers. But we have to keep in mind that, crude oil is the linchpin for inflation. It really manifests into all
one of them.
Prices of production. It trickles down over time.
A big one.
So if, we start to see some slight reversion back to perhaps I would suggest more of a normalized price in this environment between $75 and $90 a barrel, markets might actually accept that as the new sort of balance range for crude oil until we actually get some concrete resolution to the conflict.
Yeah. And the dollar is stronger today. I think that's worth noting, in the 99 range. You have the president calling for the Fed to immediately cut rates. Don't even wait till March 18th next week, though there really doesn't.
They're not going to listen.
In sight. George Tillis, it's great to see you.
In all fairness,
thank you, friends, for being with me here on Opening Bell.
You know, never mind. I don't even want to say one thing nice about the central banking cartels.
Sambadas is next.
Of deal activity this year, because the thinking was this was going to be a good year for deal activity. We're still waiting for some potentially big.
Bloomberg.
Even still, with billions of dollars flowing into those ETFs with exposure to
Well, I
software,
just say.
trying to call a bottom, it hasn't mattered because we're still seeing more money flowing to those other areas that I was just talking
It's
about.
always
the
a good
real
safe
economy
haven.
areas.
ETFs
People
are
betting
just
on
a good way to
resurgence
go,
in
man.
Energy, materials, industrials.
James, thanks very much. James
In
Seyfert
fact-
there of the Bloomberg Intelligence ETF Triumvirate. You've got James Seyfert.
In
You've got
fact, I defy anyone watching to give me a bad ETF experience.
analyst team in the world. Tune in to ETF IQ. It's our weekly 1 hour long show.
I would like to see what's going on in Danus. Let's see what they're saying over here.
Reactors and retrofits, new nuclear projects. He's asking us about specific coal plants that were slated to shut down because of government policies that were trying to strangulate them out of existence. When we sit down with the president, he is talking about rare earth, critical minerals, the supply chain from extraction from the ground through the end of the process.
Indo-Pacific Energy Forum. Yeah, we might get some information about oil in there somewhere, but this is that's largely just a bureaucratic elbow-rubbing festival.
Built for today's workforce. Learn more at way here going into earnings.
So that would be a further downside area to watch.
Smart insights, actionable data, veteran traders.
Actionable data. I love the Australian accent. It's so cute.
A cidade estava sitiada.
Nisso eu começo, eu não sabia o que fazer.
Yeah, me
Foi
too.
a mais terrível que eu passei na minha vida.
Eu temo, né, que o Brasil se torne, num futuro próximo, um narco-estado.
Everybody's in commercial right now. I'm just waiting to hear some news about anything worthwhile. For God's sake, man, come on. There we go.
Sam Vardas live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We have plenty to hit on both here and abroad over the next hour. So here is a look at what is coming up. As the Iran conflict continues, we'll take a closer look at the potential economic impact, both here and at home and internationally as well. Over the next hour, we'll have example trades for Adobe and Royal Caribbean. Adobe is lower this morning after earnings and announcing an impending CEO change, and Royal Caribbean and other cruise lines remain under pressure due to these higher oil prices. But for now, let's take a look at where markets are trading around half an hour into this session on Friday the 13th. But nothing too spooky about what's happening right here.
Nothing
this price
too
action looks
spooky.
positive. Relatively calm off the back of the volatility we've experienced in the last 2 weeks. We are still in for a third week of losses here, but as I mentioned, a relative calm and some optimism at least for this Friday off the back of all this data that we've been getting this morning. And of course, we have more on tap for you in just a little second. S&P 500 currently trading at 67.17, 0.7% higher. We've got tech back in action as well, 0.8% higher for the Nasdaq 100. The Dow putting on 300 points this morning, and the Russell 2000 is also looking perky. In fact, our outperformer,
Perky.
of course, as The market is boosting bets of at least one cut this year. We'll discuss that throughout the course of the program. Let's take a look at where foreign markets stand, how Asia wrapped up the week. As I mentioned, relatively calm out there as well, given the wild swings we have seen in some of our Asian markets over the last 2 weeks or so. The Nikkei 225 closing down 1.2%. A lot of attention on dollar yen this morning. I'll talk about why later in the program. The Hang Seng Index down 1%. Chinese equities have been relatively insulated from what we've seen going on just because of their energy situation, but of course also to do with some of the tech stories there. We've got Baba out with earnings next week. The FTSE 100 currently trading still 0.6% higher, and the DAX is also.
What are they saying over at Newsmax?
This morning in Operation Epic Fury, the Pentagon confirming the deaths of 4 of the 6 crew members of a refueling
tragic
plane that crashed in western Iraq as the rescue efforts continue for the remaining 2 service members. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command reports strikes on 6,000 targets in Iran
I'm not ignoring
as the
you.
new
I just,
Supreme Leader vows to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. Here is Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
The United States is decimating the radical Iranian regime's military in a way the world has never seen before.
Meanwhile, fears surrounding our national security are skyrocketing after 2 separate potential terror attacks rattled the U.S. yesterday. First, a deadly morning shooting at Virginia's Old Dominion University at the hands of a U.S. veteran turned convicted ICE supporter that claimed 1 life and injured 2. The 700 miles away, a Lebanon-born man who allegedly lost family members in an Israeli strike rammed his vehicle into the Temple Israel Synagogue in Michigan.
You know what?
Carrying a rifle and a car filled with explosives.
You know what's odd about this story? The guy was ultimately, I think they said the guy was shot by synagogue security. Bro, if you need an armed guard at your place of worship, there is something major wrong with that.
Former special agent in charge at the Justice Department and author of the book A Cop's Son, One G-Man's Fight Against Jihad, Global Fraud, and the Cartels. Great to see you both
Muhammad
this morning.
Jihad.
I want to start off with this.
Dirk Allah.
War,
Muhammad
Pete Hegseth,
Jihad.
giving the latest from Operation
Name that
Epic
movie.
Fury. Let's listen in.
The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that. Now, there's a reason why we chose
Iran
as one of our primary
Not
objectives to destroy the Navy.
bullshit?
We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for
I got your
4 years.
interdict
It's
right
key
here.
terrain. They've used it as leverage. The world is seeing what they'll do to fight back in that context. And so
Bitcoin, baby.
we've heard them talk about taking various measures, and we're planning for all of them.
Natural gas is dying today a little.
Fred, I want to get your reaction to that, what you think we will see, and also maybe
NVIDIA
some of the
coming back
challenges
down.
lie ahead.
Well, the mines are something the U.S. Navy can deal with. The real threat are drones and missiles and small attack boats that have to be taken out. And this means that American Navy ships that we're talking about sending into the Strait to escort oil tankers would be at significant risk. There's going to be a very intensive operation over the next few days to try to take out the locations of these drones and missiles and small boats before we can secure the Strait. We'll be removing the mines, but these missiles and drones are a big threat.
These jerk-offs with these
for
mines.
sure they are. The president posted on Truth Social,
Iran.
quote, watch what happens to these deranged scumbags today. They have been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years, and now I, as the 47th president, am killing them. Ken, I want to get your reaction to that.
Trump coin.
And what do you think that we'll see from the president?
Well, I think, Tracy, those are very, very strong words. However, I do think, he can back that up with the force of the military.
Yeah, look at this.
Our, intelligence services, law enforcement services here in the States. And I just want to say, all of these things that happened
This is not a
yesterday
buy.
were just horrific, heartbreaking.
Don't buy
And
Trump
I think
coin.
we can expect.
I mean, do what you want, but
much more of it.
Do what you want. I'm not. It is in no way, shape, or form indicative of how I feel about Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong. I just think Trump coin is a joke. There's no utility to it. It's a meme coin. Everybody should know this. Yet it's being rated as a buy. Now, of course, they're going to rate these buy-sell signals on its performance. It's all data-driven, of course, but I would heavily advise against playing with this. Not because I think it's going to go down. I mean, eventually it damn sure will. I mean, it definitely could shoot up, and it could go up a 1,000,000% in the next 5 minutes. Don't get me wrong. I just, for the sake of making some cash, hey, go for it. But don't make the mistake of believing in it as anything more than a meme coin. I don't think anybody is doing that. I just got to make sure. That you understand the hilarity of Trump coin. Unless there's something you know that I don't, in which case, by all means, bring it up in the chat. Let's talk about it. We are currently a half hour into trading today, and if I'm being totally honest, yes, we're having a mainly green day, but there's nothing really major going on in the world. There's nothing really crazy going on. Come on, give me the crazy, baby. Give me the crazy.
Should kind of rising to the upside. It may leave a little bit more
on deck as the threats are really heightened right now.
Duh.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's, they're definitely going to put these individuals under the microscope. They're going to try to find out if there were any associates. They'll be taking a look at their digital footprint. All the investigative techniques will be applied here, and there are, certainly plenty of lessons learned. For example, I think we have to harden these targets, and I'm talking about defending places of worship and schools. We've got to put armed security.
Newsmax, as usual, they seem to be struggling for content.
Consumer sentiment declining to a 3-month low because of fears about the impact of gasoline prices from the war with Iran. By the way,
shouldn't surprise anybody.
Is somewhere around the national average for a gallon of regular. Also had the JOLTS survey, job openings coming in higher than expected. The job opening labor turnover survey.
Oh, wait a minute. What's Schwab saying?
Also reaching out to the Iranians in order to try to secure safe passage. It appears that France and Italy is trying to do the same.
France and Italy are trying to do the same.
Here. But crude oil right now is kind of correlating at this $94.60 level. And we are looking to see if it's going to break out or see a little bit more of a breakdown. We obviously know that there's going to be some headwinds when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. We had the Department of...
Yeah, man, we've got some conflicting catalysts, right? We've got the Strait of Hormuz and Iran being dicks, and you could expect that, right? Mining the passageway there, mining the Strait of Hormuz, which our Navy says that's not that big of a deal. We're more worried about strikes and actual threats. Mines can be dealt with. Okay. Iran is just turning up the dial on their BS to try and stop what we're doing over there, which is to be expected. So you've got that would typically push up the cost of oil, because remember, 20% of the world's oil supply runs through the Strait of Hormuz. You take away 20% of the supply, you can count on a 10x effect in other fundamentals of the whole industry. So you have that negative catalyst, but then you also have the supply being buffered with our own reserves, and people around the world adding to the supply with their reserves. So you're going to have some sideways action, right? That's what's going to happen. I see no clear long-term solution here. However, in the short term, you can certainly make some money. And you can look at this in two different ways. You can look at this as a break above that. That's why this long entry is there, because you see it's on that candle that rose above the last short entry. That's how these signals work. In fact, once you get to know them, you can pretty much predict them before the computations do it. and actually give you the alert. So just because it broke above this doesn't guarantee it'll keep going, but it's very indicative of it being possible. Once it crosses through there, this one, once it gets over $95, then I'd be more confident about it continuing on up. And then, of course, you've got 96-ish as your next point of contention. Yeah. See that right there? There might be a decent short opportunity, but I wouldn't short. I wouldn't short right here. But somebody will. Okay, our silver futures coming down a little bit. Probably because this little spike in the dollar, but the dollar is on its way down. It's just going to bounce around in this channel here as oil affects the petrodollar. Because if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, guess who loses the vast majority of their oil? China. Guess who they're forced to buy from? Good old US of A. What does that do for the petrodollar? Exactly what you're seeing with this right here. Whether it holds, is yet to be seen. All right, so far so good. Seeing mostly green across the market. Green or flat. Meta, for some reason, just taking a dump. Palantir taking a dive. Broadcom, Nvidia, Apple, your big major tech players running flat, but maybe this is some of that trickle down we got going on here with all these other companies that are actually doing green. Yesterday, this stock LLY, I can't think of their name. They were doing pretty good yesterday. Overall, for the week, everybody, we're still down by and large for the week. So, Friday the 13th, we still got several hours to go to see if this number comes up. Well, this overall average, right? Bitcoin. We are still moving up slowly but surely in the $73,500 range. It's going to slowly continue its creep upwards, I believe, despite what's going on in the world. And as the dollar strengthens, people are just going to be investing more. So this is what you can expect to see, right? As the dollar strengthens, the fear subsides and the greed turns up. I wish there was one of those. I wish there was feed and greer, right? Fear and greed index. I wish there was a thing there. I know I can pull it up somewhere in here, but you know what? Let's go ahead and find it. I know it's here somewhere. I don't think I've ever seen it. Okay. Well, whatever. Nvidia taking a dive, shedding some of its losses. That $270 price point that the analysts gave it for a year. Is that still... The technicals say sell, but the analysts say it's a strong buy. Wow, look at that. Yeah, it's got like a $280 price point for the next year. Yeah, there it is. $267 price point. I've got a couple of calls that are going to die worthless because I should have got them a little farther out. Silver taking a dive, baby. What's up with that? Coming back down, losing all of its gains since 5 o'clock this morning. Huh. Very interesting. Oil on the climb. It's looking like it's liking this area right here. I do believe we're teeing up to blast off again. In fact, if you were to draw a line from right here, I would say that this candle or the next should come through this area. It should plow right through it. I could be wrong. Bitcoin the same. Well, anybody want to drop a ticker symbol in the chat? I'd be glad to pull it up. You know what's funny? I don't think there's anybody on YouTube watching. However, there are 10 people in Rumble. I thank you. I thank you very much. Man, come on. Come back with the hits. Where'd you go?
That we brought you here on Live Now from Fox, and Robin Murdoch over at our Fox 2 Detroit team was there and is following all of the latest developments. Good morning, Robin.
About?
A lot that we did learn, and of course, as I always say, a lot still left to figure out.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, there's still a lot of questions. A lot of the community members here,
Michigan synagogue
obviously
attack.
Interested.
Hey, you know what? I feel for the people, but ultimately, it's not news right now. Not for us. How does that affect my cash? I think it's silly that these things happen. Obviously, it's fueled by what's going on and with the war and everything, right? But what do these people think they're going to accomplish when the war is going on over there and you try and bomb a synagogue here? Like, what is... I know the statement that you're making, but ultimately it's a moot point. Like, especially here. Look, man, you know... This is not a reflection on who I support and what I don't support, but we are in what's the word I'm looking for? We are away from the conflict over there. We have a different set of things going on in this country that ultimately doing shit like this over here is. You're just, I don't have the words to explain how dumb I think it is. Like, you're not making a point. Your point is falling on deaf ears. You're not changing a damn thing in the world, except you're removing yourself from it. Idiots. Just idiots.
Impacts in terms of macroeconomic are centered in the Gulf region. We have a disruption in terms of course, oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, hydrocarbons.
Yep.
Voting in our elections, but at the same time tell you they don't want ICE to show up at polling places because they know that's where so many illegal aliens are casting their ballots. Mm-hmm. The American people want this. They deserve honest elections. They deserve the trust, the confidence to be restored to the process. It hasn't been for too long, and the Senate can make all this happen, but there are political realities over there that I know.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Understands and can explain much better than me.
This is such a no-brainer.
Yeah. Look, if you just want to jump in there, go ahead.
Why would you?
This is a case, as they say in the courts.
You know what? Trump was right. The only reason you'd be against voter ID is because you want to cheat or you want cheating to take place for your side. This is so ridiculous. The argument is so ridiculous. What are the arguments that they're putting forth? It makes married women have problems. No. You know what? No. In fact, if it causes you that much problems, that's your fault. People don't know how to find their. It's so difficult for you to get your birth certificate. No, it's not. You know, I know this for a fact. I've been through this process 3 times in the last 2 or 3 months because I'm planning a trip to Thailand with a friend of mine and my son. So that's the reason why all 3 of us had to go find our birth certificate. And we had to go there. And guess what? It cost $20 and it took all of maybe 15 minutes to make happen. It's not hard. That's a fucking lie. So ridiculous. Now, I understand you people on Rumble, the good people of Rumble are smart enough to know this. And I think by and large, the majority of people in general know this. It's just, something Donald Trump, right?
Times. And here's my final point. For Republicans who say, well, yeah, but, we'll get it done. You'll get it done, and then when the Democrats take power, they'll repeal it immediately, and
Probably.
they'll do much worse. And
that's why nothing gets accomplished in America.
Up government. They'll expand government. They'll pack the court. They'll admit D.C. and Puerto Rico in the state. They'll pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, and they'll do everything that they would be against if Trump did.
And guess what? When Republicans take control back, they won't repeal any of it because they don't. That's the bottom line. Every time the Democrats move, whether it's Medicaid, Social Security, welfare, you go on. When Republicans say, oh, that was terrible, we need to repeal it, they never do. Obamacare, they never do. So all this is a one-way ratchet. To get rid of the filibuster is a one-way ratchet for bigger and bigger and bigger government. It's a bad idea.
Yep.
Yeah, and listen, you mentioned this, the majority of American people are behind not having illegal aliens vote in U.S. elections, but the Democrats keep on pushing it. Chuck Schumer is really making it his mission to do everything not to get this through. Listen to this.
Yes, but their bill isn't voter ID, number one.
Shut up.
It is about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of millions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls.
Hogan, there it is. ICE, you mentioned it. Your reaction?
Also, just grasping at straws. That's all he's doing. Just grasping at straws. Chuck Schumer knows better. He's just party lines, man. Party lines.
The voter rolls illegally in this country. And listen, Republicans and Democrats for decades have been complaining about the outcome of elections and the process in general. Let's not forget, 60% of Republicans believe that Joe Biden did not win that election honestly. But 60% of Democrats believe Donald Trump did not defeat Hillary Clinton honestly either. So this whole notion that Democrats have the high ground here, I learned machines could be hacked because of Kamala Harris telling us they could be hacked. So spare me the pearl clutching on the Democrat side here.
Thank you.
You have been complaining about elections for a long time. There's a simple solution to get it done.
Yeah.
The filibuster, whether you're for or against getting rid of it, the legislation needs to pass because the American people deserve to have their faith, trust, and confidence in these elections restored, which has been gone for decades in this country.
Now, we have less than a minute left, but I want to talk about this. The Democrats are digging in their heels, and they're putting American safety at risk. Not funding DHS. We saw what happened yesterday in Virginia and in Michigan. Senator Santorum, we're really up against some real threats here. How important is this to get this passed?
Obviously, it's critically important, and it just shows you that the Democrats are just in full anti-Trump lockdown mode. Whatever Donald Trump is for, they're against. No matter whether it's curing cancer or, you name any good thing that everybody in America would like to see. If Donald Trump's for it, they're against it.
Yep.
And I saw an article today by David Boies, who's a big-time Democratic donor, was defended Al Gore and Bush v. Gore. I mean, he's been one of the leading Democratic figures for a long time, and he wrote an article just saying, this was on the Iran war. What's wrong with you guys? I mean, every president from Bill Clinton to Barack Obama has said Iran shouldn't get a nuclear weapon, and now Trump's actually doing something about it as they approach the possibility of actually having one. And Democrats who always were against this, against Iran getting a nuclear weapon, and now all of a sudden, because Trump is doing it against this war. This is the kind of knee jerk, and I get the passion people have saying, well, we have to do something about it. Don't break the system because we have broken people on the other side.
Yeah,
Go out and campaign against them, defeat them because they're doing things against the American public's interest. Don't break the system that will give them the opportunity to really destroy the country.
All right, we are going to leave it right there. Senator Santorum, Hogan Gidley, great to be with you both this morning. Thank you so much for weighing in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I try my best to stay right down the middle because, admittedly, I agree with a lot of things on either side. There's some things that I support from the right. There's some things I support from the left. I try and stay right down the middle. But it has become exceedingly more difficult to maintain that strong footing right down the middle. Because and things have become so divisive that someone from, like, you know, if you support one point from one side, the opposing side instantly wants to assume a whole list of things about you that must be true. Since you support this, then you must support that. Correlation is not, it's not all inclusive, people. And I believe most people are like this. I believe most people identify with various things from both sides. But the way things are just so divisive lately, I don't know, man. It really hurts. It hurts my heart and my head to think that we've become this tribal. To think that so many people out there really exist in that monkey brain type thinking. Like, man, there are just some things that are common sense standards that we all as Americans have. And there's none of those things that are all inclusive of the left or all inclusive of the right. I think any rational person would be fairly purple. What do you think? I'd love to hear what you think about this. In fact, this topic just has always fascinated me with the way people are. And I instantly think less of someone that digs into their party and vote, you know, based solely on party. Now, I understand these days there is so much hate for the other side, depending on what side you're on. There's so much hate for that other side that, you know, I it's not lost on me why someone would refuse to vote blue on anything. And obviously vice versa if you feel strongly about the left. I think it's very foolhardy of anyone to dig in so deep into one side's ideology, you know, all-inclusive ideologies. Like, just, you know, I won't get into what I do and don't support on the left versus the right, but I have taken a very critical approach to myself and my own beliefs. I've had to defend my beliefs to family members. And I actually have lost some very important family because of this asinine thinking that just because you agree with one point on one side, that makes you all of the above. You know, I tend to rein in any hatreds. Hate is a strong thing. I do my best to not have very much hatred in my heart. But I'll tell you what, I absolutely despise that line of thinking. It is so pig-headed and it's so ridiculous and very indicative of your own intelligence level that you can't separate common sense from something like party lines. NVIDIA's all over the place. Yeah, you have to forgive me. Every now and then I go on these tirades about something I'm very passionate about, and this is definitely one of those things.
Some investors try to step in, buy some dips.
The concussion of it just blew through the wall. This was the kitchen area. It blew through. You can see a section there that it's taken out. That was the living room. And then as we kind of walk back over here, watch, I want you to be very careful in line.
And who's bombing civilians?
We'll try to make our way over to the bedroom. But I'm told that this family was okay also. Family inside a neighboring building. About 85 people were hurt. Some 300 buildings were impacted. But
this is in Israel.
Coming along with other attacks by Hezbollah over the last few days what I'm told by the IDF, and I've been reporting about this throughout the week, is that Iran and Hezbollah have been basically coordinating these attacks this morning, last night, and the frequency, intensity of Hezbollah attacks we've seen have been increasing earlier this week. As you know, I was on the border of northern Israel and southern Lebanon. As we were driving back that evening, Wednesday evening, Hezbollah fired more than 200 rockets, attack drones, surface-to-surface missiles on northern Israel, central Israel, even targeting the Tel Aviv region. We've seen the intensity and frequency of the ballistic missile attacks from Iran decreasing as this joint Israeli-U.S. operation continues, as we and the Israelis are taking out their missile launching capabilities.
It deeply saddens me to know that any civilians are suffering because of this war. Doesn't change my stance on it, but civilians are not the people that deserve this. And any country that goes attacking the civilians, that should tell you everything you need to know. Drop a like if you think we should turn Iran into fucking glass. Wouldn't that be some shit? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be insane if someone dropped a nuke on Iran? What do you think would happen? I mean, the obvious line of thinking would be, World War III, right? But aren't we already technically in a world war? Haven't we been for a while? And a lot of people hear World War III, and they don't count it as official unless, everybody starts throwing nukes around. But, that's the guarantee when everybody has them that nobody will use them, most likely. Somebody will eventually, I believe. And as soon as that happens, that gives every other nation license to start throwing them around. And while I do think we should turn Iran into glass, it's probably not the best strategic decision, because the repercussions of that, I do believe Russia would probably take advantage of that opportunity, because, that Satan II bomb that they've got, that could literally wipe out half of Texas. Maybe not half, but it's pretty damn big. Keep in mind, the nukes we dropped in Japan, those were measured in the kilotons, 15 kilotons, right? They measure now in megatons. 1 to 1, that's 1,000 times stronger. 1 megaton is 1,000 kilotons. All right? And we're measuring these new bombs these days in the hundreds of megatons. So you're talking 100,000 at a minimum times as strong as the one we dropped in Hiroshima. What was it, Nagasaki? Do you know what that would do to the country? Just even, on an obvious level of destruction, obvious, it's a lot. But do you really understand the full scale of what would happen? Ecologically, societally, just economically? Perish of the thought. So, while I would love to see Iran wiped off the map, probably not a good long-term plan. You see, I got a plan. Put me in the White House. You don't want to know what I would do. I probably would drop the nuke. I'd probably say, fuck it, let's go. Because all we're doing the last 50 years, we're edging, right? We're edging towards apocalyptic annihilation somewhere. We're just so close to blowing that load. Somebody's going to do it. eventually, I do believe. And then of course, that might be when the aliens step in, huh? What do you think about that? I don't know, man. Just based on that, I'm kind of curious to see what would happen.
Regime, but this is not a fight that's over.
Yeah, no kidding.
Markets react in real time.
Just running through, seeing if anybody's saying anything worthwhile.
Weakens the freedom of every faith community. So I pray that we stand together against this senselessness, and I pray that we show it through our actions today. Thank you so much. And
Is this
I'd like
more
to
of the
introduce,
synagogue?
Mr. Eugene Farouk. Thank you.
Texas lawmakers talk Islamophobia. Who is that? Oh, yeah, you know what? Something that has nothing to do with anything. But something I just noticed lately. Actually, I noticed it a long time ago. There's just really no place to insert the discussion. So this is going to be very off topic to some of you, but I do think it's an interesting topic for discussion. Have you ever taken a good look at a front-on comparison of Jeffrey Epstein's face and put it next to Obama's face? Have you ever noticed how similar those two men look? I say it doesn't mean anything. Unless they were both grown in the same lab. I don't know, I find it interesting. Also, have you heard the conspiracy about what's his face? I think it's Podesta, John Podesta. I think if that's who I'm thinking of correctly. You heard this theory about him possibly being the father of the late, great Chester Bennington, the singer from Linkin Park? Did you hear about this conspiracy? This theory suggests that, you know, everybody who knows anything about Chester knows he was an orphan. And old John Podesta's name was in those Epstein files and was supposedly involved in something from a long time ago. And basically it was theorized John Podesta was Chester Bennington's father. Take a look at their faces. They do look pretty similar, but to be fair, there are only so many genetic blueprints on the planet. Everybody's got a doppelganger, right? I just thought it was very interesting. And then old Chester offs himself right in the middle when him and Chris Cornell were actively involved in trying to rescue like kids from some of these sex rings. And then they both magically kill themselves. Well, it's worth entertaining the thought. I wouldn't say I necessarily subscribe to those, but it's definitely interesting.
Indians through Venezuelan banks finance most of the unrest on the major campuses in the Northeast. So they're here. In fact, Clemson University just released a report today, I believe, where they tracked over 300 Iranian websites and organizations that are being used to foment unrest.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I'm going to put the heat map back on, and I'm going to grab a smoke, if that's all right with you guys. I need to reheat my coffee because it's cold, and cold coffee, when you're expecting hot coffee, sucks. So I shall return.
Threats inside of our military. We saw what happened yesterday at Old Dominion University. Do you worry about that?
Yes, I do. And remember a few years ago what happened at Fort Hood, where the warning signs were there. He was an Army psychologist, and he killed 30 of his fellow soldiers at Fort Hood in a processing center. That's something that we really have to be on guard for.
We definitely do. Secretary Wilkie, always great to be with you. Thank you for taking the time.
Good to see you, Tracy.
All right, coming up, two alarming incidents raising Homeland Security concerns. A deadly shooting at Old Dominion University linked to an ISIS supporter and an explosive attack at a Michigan synagogue. What it means for threats here at home.
It used to be common. Our newscasters had common sense. They gave it to you straight, just the facts, and real news. John Bachman is like them. He tells it like it is. Catch him every weekday on Newsmax 2.
If you've been in an accident that wasn't your fault, well, your favorite attorney has a message for you. Collision, calamity, catastrophe? Are you innocent, faultless, above reproach? If you want money, you need an attorney. You need a bulldog. But finding one, it's laborious, it's strenuous, it's stupefying. That's why you gotta call the number on your screen now.
To get your own bulldog, call your favorite attorney now.
They'll help you connect to a legal expert. You have questions, they have answers. They know the legalese, the lingo, the jargon, and the argot.
When I got hit by a car, I was confused, confounded, and concerned. But calling left me calm, composed, and comforted. Thanks, your favorite attorney.
They'll even tell you how much money your case could be worth. $300,000, $2 million, $86,491, all sorts of numbers.
Call your favorite attorney now. He'd call you, but he doesn't have your number.
Call 800-513-2164.
Slip and falls, work accidents, car, truck, bus, motorcycle, motorbike, e-bike, tandem bike. These bulldogs will make sure people pay. And if you don't get paid, the attorneys don't get paid, and I don't get paid.
After I was blindsided and sideswiped by a fat tire e-bike towing a skateboarder, I didn't know what to do. But a friend recommended that I call his favorite attorney. And I got results. Now, he's my favorite attorney.
It doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it was. As long as it had an engine and the accident wasn't your fault, call your favorite attorney now.
So I compel you, I implore you, I beseech you to pick up that phone and call now to see what your case could be worth.
To get a windfall, you first need to call.
Thanks, your favorite attorney.
Thanks, your favorite attorney.
Thanks, your favorite attorney.
So if you've been in an accident that wasn't your fault, call your favorite attorney now.
800-513-2164. That's 800-513-2164.
Breaking now, the Pentagon confirming the deaths of all 6 crew members of a refueling plane that crashed in western Iraq. Their plane crashed while flying over friendly territory yesterday. The crash is still being investigated, but it was not caused by hostile or friendly fire. Well, fears surrounding threats against the homeland are skyrocketing. This after 2 separate potential terrorist attacks rattled the U.S. yesterday. First, a deadly shooting at Virginia's Old Dominion University at the hands of a veteran-turned-convicted ISIS supporter that claimed 1 life. In Michigan, a Lebanon-born man who allegedly lost family members in an Israeli strike rammed his vehicle into the Temple Israel synagogue. The suspect carrying a rifle and a car filled with explosives. Thankfully, none of the 140 students inside nor the staff were hurt. All right, turning now for the latest out of Norfolk, Virginia. We're joined now by correspondent Andrew Kraft. Good morning, Andrew.
Have been canceled, and a lot of students have already embarked on spring break. But as of yesterday, about this very time, the first calls came in of an active shooter incident on this campus here in Norfolk, Virginia at Old Dominion. And police responded within 10 minutes of those first calls coming in. Law enforcement telling us that this shooter shouted Allahu Akbar before carrying out his rampage in this classroom there on campus right behind me. And ROTC cadets in this military science class, they jumped into action, neutralizing the very assailant, taking matters into their own hands. Watch.
There were students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
So he was not shot?
He was not shot.
The shooter, Mohammed Jallow, 36 years old, was a previous member of the Virginia National Guard and was sentenced to prison back in October 2017 for providing material support to ISIS. He was released in December 2024 and was currently on supervised release, a kind of probation. Now, in the summer of 2016, he twice tried to buy weapons and was arrested. A criminal complaint at the time describing him being radicalized online, claiming he had traveled to Nigeria to meet with members of ISIS, and he was communicating with an undercover FBI informant he believed was a member of the Islamic State. He ultimately was inspired and wanted to replicate the attack, the mass shooting at Fort Hood back in 2009. He was a naturalized citizen from Sierra Leone. FBI agents raided his home in Sterling, Virginia last night. That's about 3.5 hours north of where I am right now. I want to talk, though, about the one fatality, the victim here, Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw. He was killed while teaching this class full of ROTC cadets. He is being remembered today. He attended Old Dominion, and he returned 4 years ago to lead the ROTC program here on campus. He flew helicopters in the Army during Operation Enduring Freedom over the skies of Iraq and was awarded the Bronze Star. Now, Tracy, there were 2 other shooting victims. One remains in critical condition, and the other was treated and released from the hospital. Now, FBI Director Kash Patel, Tracy, is saying that they are treating this and investigating this as an act of terrorism. The FBI is the lead investigative agency on this scene right now. They're still processing the crime scene. They're still interviewing witnesses. They're still collecting data and media and images and video to give them a better sense of Jallow's movements and what all transpired yesterday. Now, whether or not there's going to be another press conference on camera a little bit later on, I'm working to confirm whether or not that's the case. That remains to be seen, and so we'll just have to wait and see. Tracy, back to you.
All right, Andrew, thank you from Norfolk, Virginia. Appreciate that. All right, coming up, the accused killer of Charlie Kirk is headed back to court today in Utah. Should certain documents and proceedings in the case be open to the public? Well, more details on this when National Update returns.
America is blessed with countless service men and women who have bravely fought on our behalf. They've paid the price in body and spirit so we can enjoy our freedom.
By joining the military during a very active period of war, I absolutely went into it with the idea that I could die. Both my legs were amputated due to an IED that I sustained while I was deployed to Iraq. I mean, I'm still here, so there must be something more.
Far too many struggle to get the care and benefits they earned through service and sacrifice. Disabled American Veterans is a lifesaver for our injured heroes. They help service members of all ages get the help they need, but they can't do it alone.
There were moments of frustration. You can't do this anymore, you can't go here anymore. I absolutely felt like I lost some of my purpose.
I'm asking you to join me and other patriotic Americans and donate only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. Your monthly donation will help veterans like Nick Kolchar. For 100 years, DAV, Disabled American Veterans, has been fighting to keep our promises to our injured heroes each and every day, ensuring that our sons and daughters get the care and assistance they deserve. You'll help them get the financial and medical benefits they've earned and receive the care and emotional support they need.
When you call or go online right now with your pledge of just $19 a month, we'll send you this DAV t-shirt as a way you can share your support for our brave veterans.
Join me and other patriotic Americans and support DAV. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can say thank you in the most meaningful way. Please call or go online to helpdav.org and donate now. Thank you, and God bless you.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
It's true. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, and more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to newsmaxplus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. Imagine watching Mike Huckabee's Israel Report, our Melania documentary, Clint Eastwood, Charlie Kirk specials, even the movie Jesus of Nazareth by Franco Zeffirelli. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you won't stop. So try it for free. Go to newsmaxplus.com, then download the app. It's easy. So make the switch to Newsmax Plus today.
Well, it is a very busy news day around the world, and back here at home, Charlie Kirk's accused killer is set to make another court appearance today in Utah. The question the judge will grapple with is whether certain documents and proceedings in the case should be open to the public. Here now with more on the case and what we can expect today in court is attorney Alex Sawyer. She is the editor-at-large at the Washington Times, covering law and politics, as well as the author of Lawless Lawfare, and she is a Newsmax contributor. Alex, great to see you today. So what are these particular documents and proceedings at question here?
Yeah, so I think the hearing today will primarily focus on this motion to seal evidence. And so basically, I think the focus will be government officials and statements they made to the public during the time that there was the manhunt for Tyler Robinson, and then once he was arrested. What his attorneys would want to keep out is anything that could be considered prejudicial as they go to select jury members. Character attacks, maybe presumptive statements of guilt. That's something that they're going to look to exclude.
Yeah, and I know the defense for Tyler Robinson, of course, he's the 20-year-old accused assassin of Charlie Kirk. They don't want cameras in the courtroom because they think it's going to hinder his chances for a fair trial. But Charlie's widow, Erica, I mean, she's been saying, that, well, the cameras were there when Charlie was assassinated. They're sort of following her around as well during this time. But also, I mean, in many high-profile cases, we know this, cameras are usually in the courtroom. So what would make this case different?
Yeah, I don't think it makes the case any difference, Tracy. And the other thing is that there's going to be a hearing in April. I know we'll discuss that, but I think that might be a primary focus, that the judge is still considering what to do with this camera situation. Yeah. Utah law is usually very open to the press. So here we have a high-profile case, as you mentioned. The judge is going to weigh that, the public interest, against the defendant's privacy concerns or any sort of safety issues that they might raise. I think that the only thing the judge might take really into consideration here, given the public nature of this, is that safety aspect. Is there parts of this that might need to have cameras off? Maybe he'll allow cameras in some portions, not others. It's typical when cameras are in the courtroom, they are not allowed to see members of the jury, to keep those people safe and consider privacy and safety concerns there. Victims, minors who might testify, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know it's hard to say, but what do you think the outcome will be today?
So it's going to, this judge has been very mindful and careful what to do here, since it is such a high-profile case and the death penalty is on the table. Whatever happens, you don't want to leave room for an appeal, right? So I think that it could be that he takes time and doesn't necessarily deliver an opinion from the bench right away.
Yeah, and I know they're saying, this, what happens today, this hearing is going to really set the case for what happens in April.
That's right. So you get an idea about what they're going to allow into evidence in terms of statements, that sort of thing. And if he's going to go, that the judge is going to go further there, then he might be more open to allowing the cameras access for the press, that sort of thing. So it's going to be, we'll see what he does with this evidence in terms of the government statements and how, which kind of side he's leaning more towards, sealing stuff, keeping things out of the public, or more towards having this being open and transparent.
Yeah, we have, I think, 30 seconds left, but I want to hit on this. Out in Kansas, the state recently passed a law that voids the driver's licenses and birth certificates of transgenders, so, who maybe change their documents to reflect their chosen identity, not their biological sex at birth. And now apparently 2 trans residents in Kansas They're suing this state, Alex. They're saying the law violates their privacy, their personal autonomy, and freedom of speech, and a whole lot more.
Yeah, the
So tell
lower
us about
court judge did not put a halt on this law, and he basically said that those concerns, that they didn't rise to the level of showing that there would be any sort of harassment or discrimination against these individuals for having the actual biological birthmark on their driver's licenses. There's about 5 states that do this, that don't allow trans markers or them to change their driver's licenses. The issue with Kansas is that it's the first one that didn't, basically wasn't like, oh, okay, it's going forward. It was retroactive and went back and took about 1,700 driver's licenses away. So I think that's where there's been so much focus on this, and I expect there to be an appeal and this to kind of play out.
They still talking about this? Jesus. I enjoy Newsmax, but they lack content. What are we up to? No. I am looking for the other. Fox News or Fox and Live Now talking about Islamophobia. Shut up. You give something a name like that, and people just get so carried away.
On the aviation system, it is having an effect on the aviation system, and it's a man-made disaster. It doesn't need to be this way. The fault lies with Congress. For travelers, it's leading to incredible uncertainty. I saw the lines in Austin, Texas earlier today. 3-hour-long lines down there. I went through San Diego yesterday, and I got through in 10 minutes. What that means is travelers don't know, do I need to arrive at the airport an hour ahead of time? Do I need to arrive 5 hours ahead of time? It creates massive
You need
5
to
days.
shut up.
So on a percentage
Talk about
basis,
my cash.
you don't need that big of a move. Now, you cap gains because you're doing a vertical as opposed to buying the calls outright, but you're offsetting a lot of costs by selling that 320 call against your long 270 call on this bullish directional call vertical. That on a percentage basis, you don't need that big of a move. I think the key is you've got 35 days in this trade, so basically 5 weeks for this to type of trade to mature, with the idea of going to 320.
All right, thanks so much for that, Tom White. I'll catch you a little bit later. We've got stocks that are losing a little bit of steam now.
Yeah,
That's going to do it for us here on Morning Trade Live. Thanks for joining us. Trading 360 up next.
Well, you can't just you can't just make a point and dip. Let's see, where can we go from here? Everybody is either in commercial or talking about BS. Let's see what Bloomberg
frequent business
TSA
traveler
is what they're talking about.
who we're putting at risk here. It's that person who says, I'm going to skip the convention. I'm going to skip this meeting. I'm going to, I'll move it to Zoom or an alternative. That's where the effect really hits the economy. It's incredibly unfortunate, but that's what Congress is doing. I think there's some degree of, obviously, of gamesmanship that's going on Capitol Hill right now, with the sense that there isn't a consequence to the way they're behaving. TSA officers have now gone upwards of a month without pay. Again, no member of Congress has offered to do the same. That is, in my mind, borderline criminal in the way that we're treating these TSA officers.
All right, Jeff Freeman, CEO of the U.S.
I am
Travel
going
Association.
to
Thanks so much.
take a break from the norm and see what CBS is talking about. I imagine this could be
Ideas, minute
interesting.
by minute.
Is that what?
With shows built for action, we
No,
break it
that's
all
not where I
down
went.
in real time with speed.
That's not where I went. That's not where I went. Let's see. I want to see what CBS is saying because I like to keep an eye on these people.
And trusted financial journalists, streaming live and on demand.
Schwab
Nope,
Network,
that is
streaming
not where I wanted to
24/7,
go.
any screen,
I'm sorry. I keep hitting the
anywhere.
wrong damn button. Trying to go here.
Southwest and parts of the desert Southwest could see their
we're talking
earliest
about the weather.
triple-digit days coming up over the weekend. So
Amazing.
you've got major wind right now, and then you got snow this weekend, and then you got heat. So anything
There's
you
a
want,
serious
it's on
lack
this
of
buffet.
information going on right now.
Thank you, John. Looking snazzy.
Yeah, it's also International Earmuff Day in honor of the invention of the earmuff.
Is that true?
Which was invented by a kid. So
We love
Thank
earmuffs
you.
in our family. We all have them.
We are
Not my husband.
positive here, John. Thank you so much. And that does it for us, but stay right where you are. Mugo Odigwe joins us live from San Francisco right now, and she's got all your top stories.
Hey,
there,
Mugo.
Hey guys, you guys are so excited. Have a great weekend. All right, welcome in to our viewers. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had a strong message for the supreme leader of Iran, what he had to say about the new leader's public message and a lack of appearance. Plus, 6 U.S. service members have died as the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran nears the 2-week mark. But we're learning about the American aircraft that crashed in western Iraq just yesterday. And Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer gave an update on yesterday's attack at a temple. We speak to a rabbi of that temple, and she weighs in on the security officials who took down the man responsible for the attack. But we start our coverage with the ongoing war about a deadly crash in the skies in western Iraq. The crash involved a KC-135 military refueling plane. We know 6 U.S. service members were killed in that crash. U.S. officials told CBS News they believe the incident may have involved a mid-air collision. And earlier today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff spoke about the deadly crash during a Pentagon briefing.
The incident occurred over friendly territory in western Iraq while the crew was on a combat mission, and again was not the result, as CENTCOM has said, was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. We're still treating this as an active rescue and recovery operation. As CENTCOM announced this morning, 4 airmen have been recovered, and the Air Force and U.S. Central Command will provide updates as information becomes available.
Now, this crash brings the total U.S. service members killed since the start of the war with Iran to 11. In that same news conference, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said this day of the war would be the highest volume yet of U.S. strikes on Iran. CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson was at that Pentagon briefing. Ellie, what is the latest on this deadly crash of the KC-135?
The latest is that the military has now confirmed that all 6 service members aboard that tanker have died. That update came within the last hour after the press conference this morning. All 6 were aboard a KC-135. That's a refueling tanker that can refuel fighter jets, bombers, and other tankers. The incident occurred over western Iraq, but the military says it was not due to hostile or friendly fire and involved a second aircraft, another KC-135, that landed safely. Officials tell
And in the Strait of Hormuz, a key shipping lane for oil, the Pentagon was unable to give a timeline on possible U.S. Navy escorts for tanker
Why would we
ships.
announce that to the
US
world?
General Dan Kane told reporters that more work needs to be done for that to happen. Well, we have correspondents in Tehran, in the occupied West Bank, Beirut, Doha, the White House, and in New York. First, a report from our correspondent Tawhid Asadi in Tehran on
A lot of red in the
Quds
market
Day
now,
rallies in
baby.
the capital, where the president, the foreign minister, and the head of Iran's National Security Council were all present,
Silver,
despite their
damn.
strikes nearby.
Silver looking like it's about to jump below $80.
The third time in the past week, people have gathered in downtown Tehran at Enqilab Square.
That's because of the strengthening
This time
dollar, guys.
For Quds Day, an annual event to
Yeah, I don't care. Silver is taking a death plunge, guys. I mean, it's not that bad, but yeah, that's guaranteed. That's because of that move right there in the dollar. Oil taking a jump up. Will it cross above this? Will it reach back up over $100 a barrel? It very well could in the short term. Natural gas not doing so well today. Nvidia taking a drop. Is it just me, or is everything taking a drop? Palantir just said AI gives the U.S. an edge in the Middle East conflict. Yeah? Why is your stock dying? Ethereum coming down. Huh. Interesting. That's just this playing out. Well, guys, I do believe there's a whole lot of nothing going on. All I keep seeing are the same stories. Nobody's saying anything major. Let me go ahead and see what she's saying
targeting
real quick.
the mine lane storage facilities. We're seeing that now. The indication we got yesterday from Energy Secretary Chris Wright is that that may take until the end of the month to set those conditions and start seeing more traffic go through the strait. Chairman Kane said there is
shooting at
traffic,
shipping.
but it's
Come on.
diminished. And since the start of the conflict, British
Where's the accusation of war crimes against them?
16 attacks.
All right, Eleanor Watson, thank you so much for your reporting. Now, despite waves of U.S. and Israeli airstrikes and explosions, huge crowds took to the streets of Iran cities for an annual protest to express solidarity with Palestinians. This, as Israel says it hit more than 200 targets in Iran over the last 24 hours. And joining us now is CBS News chief correspondent Matt Gutman with the latest on the war from Jordan for us today. Matt, can you give us a sense of what it's like in the conflict?
You notice how these people report. You know, you'll see on Fox News and Newsmax the people standing in solidarity with the people of Iran that support Trump, but then on CBS, people standing in solidarity with Palestinians, and shut them. Makes me sick. It doesn't really make me sick. It pisses me off that they're so one-sided, but these are not a surprise. These what am I saying? This is not a surprise that they would report this way, right?
She is joined by White House and Washington reporter for Politico, Daniel Littman.
You about the underlying business demand right now.
Honestly, what it's showing us is that the economy is going in the right direction. Moderately so, stable, but it's headed in the right direction. You know, also when you look at personal income, you know, it's up 0.5%. And again, it's showing that things are going in the right direction.
So as far as personal income, and
The
you
terror
mentioned,
attacks
of
that
course,
you've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks have caused issue for Democrats and their messaging on this. Specifically, you know, a lot of the funding that they're trying to defund is not towards ICE, which is mainly their problem and has been in the past, but is actually for things like TSA and DHS and Homeland Security threats. And, you know, with the synagogue attack that happened yesterday in Michigan, both Michigan senators that are Democrats voted against that, but were on record saying we need to be funding DHS to protect against acts like that. So it is this contradictory messaging that's now happening, and, you know, protecting the homeland should be at the forefront. And I think Democrats are going to have a hard time going forward when things like this continue to happen, and they're the ones, you know, stopping possible funding to agencies that could stop it.
Yeah, but it looks like they're trying, at least trying to look like they're trying to save face by introducing bills to fund just TSA, FEMA, and other agencies, but not ICE or not CBP. ICE and CBP have money coming in through that one big beautiful bill. So even if they did pass a bill to separate the agencies, I mean, really nothing would change. So Daniel, you know, what's this all about here? Is this all just performative?
Yeah, a lot of it's political posturing because both Democrats and Republicans don't want to be seen as giving in to the other party. This is a classic Washington story.
That's why they don't ever get anything
this
done.
Is election season, and so they need to. Both parties need to amp up their bases, and so by having this be a big fight between Democrats and Republicans, that's kind of where we're left at. And so now the public is facing longer lines at TSA, you know, screening locations, and I think there's among Democrats. The Iran war has not really amped up the pressure that much to fund TSA because Iran is not seen as like Al Qaeda with a lot of sleeper cells trying to blow up airplanes.
Yeah.
Starbucks Union.
Ashley, I'm going to go back to you. As you know, the FBI is investigating that shooting at Old Dominion University as an act of.
All right. Trinseo reports fourth quarter and full year 2025 financial results. Who is Trinseo? Never mind. I thought I was jumping in on something major. That's no. U.S. global investors declare continued monthly dividend. Asia spot LNG prices down but remain elevated due to a U.S.-Iran conflict. I'm just running through some news stories. I'm not really finding much to write home about. It is very interesting to note that crypto is seeing a surge of inflows. Bitcoin eyes gold's crown as institutional money quietly shifts from gold to Bitcoin. Wall Street's biggest gold fund saw something unusual, a single-day outflow of $3 billion from SPDR gold shares, a number that dwarfed any comparable daily exit over the prior 2 years by more than 200%. The $3 billion single-day outflow from the gold shares, a U.S.-backed gold ETF trading under the ticker GLD, was flagged as exceeding any comparable daily exit over the past 2 years. On the same side of the ledger, Bitcoin exchange-traded funds recorded over $900 million in net inflows over the 30 days ending yesterday, swinging from close to $2 billion outflow the month before. That is interesting. Major investors pulling money out of gold to go into Bitcoin. That should tell you that is a sign of the times. That is a shift in the cultural zeitgeist. Bitcoin price eyes $74,000. I'm here to tell you, baby, that $74,000 is going to struggle to get above it. Once it does, it needs to stay above it, or if it fails to bust through 74, it's going to come down to the mid 60s. So pay attention. If it fails to break through to the 74 and hold it, it's gonna come down to the mid to high 60s. That's my prediction, at least. The European Central Bank has sounded the alarm on stablecoins, warning that dollar-pegged digital assets pose serious risks to Eurozone banks and monetary sovereignty. Bitcoin's narrative vacuum. Ethereum now inevitable. Potential catalysts traders are watching right now is whether the U.S. Clarity Act passes. Yeah, it's taking its sweet time. Several on-chain indicators are flashing warning signs for Bitcoin. As of the day of this publication, Bitcoin was only at 70,000. If it busts above 74 and holds it, that goes out the window. On-chain data predicting the Bitcoin bottom. I'm always curious to see what these people say, because nobody knows what they're talking about hardly. There's no such thing as a crypto expert. It's too young of a technology. Coinbase ran up a little bit. Iran war, oil shock, more likely to affect Bitcoin miners. Yeah, because the price of electricity will be affected by the oil. Because where do you think we get our electricity? Yet, improved sentiment over U.S. crypto regulation. I have mixed feelings about that. Decoupling, huh? They're talking about its correlation to the S&P 500 and gold. All right, let's see. Wellness and travel, Air China, China Power National Development Unit to provide full set of dedusting equipment. Dow is maintained at overweight by Wells Fargo. Aztec. India's Indigo introduces fuel charge on flights. No kidding. A charge of 425 rupees, a whole $4 will be added for domestic flights. Well, I mean, domestic flights overseas are surprisingly cheap. Did you know if you're in Thailand and you want to fly over to, say, Vietnam, a round-trip ticket can cost you less than $100. Yeah, we are overcharged for everything in America. That's just one more testament to the point I made yesterday. I am moving to Thailand whenever I can get out from under this financial rock that I am stuck under at the moment. But it's coming. I just have to wait. Time takes time, takes time. If you want me to check out a ticker symbol, by all means, drop it in the chat. Bitcoin is just sitting here dicking around. We are looking at a lot of red over the last hour, but I mean, it's marginal. Dollar, loving this 100 range, isn't it? The dollar is definitely going to get a little stronger with oil running up and with China being forced to buy oil elsewhere in petrodollars, I might add. Nvidia, come on, you stupid piece of... Struggling. Palantir, struggling. Ethereum took a dive as Bitcoin was running. You don't often see that much of a divergence, but you're talking about this right here in Bitcoin being correlated to this right here in Ethereum. So it's just a little expanded. Anybody got anything they'd like me to check out? I'll be glad to. I am going to be keeping an eye on silver. It's looking, guys, it's looking like silver might fall below $80 an ounce. To be perfectly honest, I didn't think that we'd ever see, say, 70-ish again. I still don't think that we will. I think this is very short-lived, and this is definitely just due to the dollar being strengthened. So you can expect whenever this war wraps up, or whenever that dollar comes down a little bit, this will come back up. And it will. Look, man, war is good for money. It's good for the dollar. It's the only thing our dollar's backed by. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by trade. It is backed by war all day. Just, if you doubt that, take a look at our military budget. ETFs looking widely flat. That's because the market as a whole is sucking it. But don't let that get you down. As said before, that's your long-term outlook for some of these ETFs. And it always will be. Short of nuclear holocaust, those will always be a good bet. Come on, Bitcoin, what you doing? Are you just sitting there stagnant? I do believe this is a me thing. What the hell is going on? Come on. Ah. Yeah, that was a me thing. I'm sitting here talking about fucking Bitcoin being over 73. Meanwhile, fucking Jesus. I'm sorry, guys. My internet apparently shit the bed. Oh, 15, 20, 25, 30 fucking minutes. Well, why are some of these other charts running and that one was not? Maybe that was just that chart. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all being with me today. I thank you for watching. So unless there's anything else anybody's got, I do believe I'm about to call it a day. I am hungry. I want to go grab me something to eat. Every time I go outside to have a smoke, I watch food videos. It's got me hungry, boy. You know, I have to go in the kitchen and boss for real. You know, got me a Totino's pizza. Pay me, Totino's. I'm wanting there to be more to discuss because I really don't want to go anywhere yet. I'm enjoying being with all my friends. Plus, there's like a whole 7 of you watching. But it doesn't matter to me if it's a minimal amount. So please, somebody drop something in the chat to keep me on. Ethereum jumped up and then jumped back down. It's likely just going to continue this trend right here. If you notice it. Pay no mind to this guy who bought in and then staggered their way out, possibly. Yeah, pulling that one out of Mios. Jeffrey Bezos. I've got that song stuck in my head. Well, if you're just now joining us, which somebody did, I'm almost out of here, but you guys keep showing up. So I guess as long as you keep showing up, I'm going to hang out. Because I love you. I love you, baby. Natural gas has not been a gas. Crude. I'm questioning now some of these charts because of what Bitcoin just did a minute ago. So I'm gonna run through them and make sure I'm up to date. Yeah. Of the dollar. Will we come back up here to this high? I am very interested to see. It only needs to go up another 10 cents. And it does look like our RSI has been on the rise, but it's wavering a little bit. Yeah, see, Bitcoin didn't really like this. See how close it got to 74? I'm telling you, that's a very, very strong point of contention. Look at that. It just barely touched it. Keep in mind, too, when I throw around numbers like that, they're obviously an estimate. It's never going to be exact. Rarely will it ever be. So 73.9, you might as well call that 74. It did not like that. And it came back down, baby. Wow. Came back down hard. Came down $1,000. Almost. It came down, came down $1,500. That is one hell of a... That just erased all this plowing today. Which this started right about 8:45. Man. 8:45. So it took about an hour and a half to get up there, but then it was gone in 30 minutes. And that, my friends, is the nature of crypto, isn't it? Is it not? But Palantir looks like it's about to come back down again. Somebody shit the bed. Nvidia having a rough day. Very, very rough day. But to be perfectly honest, lots of people are having rough days. Look at that. Broadcom down, what? 3%. Astronics Great name. Taking almost a 4% drop. And if you are new here, this red list, these are all the biggest companies that SpaceX deals with. And ahead of SpaceX's IPO that may be happening around June-ish of this year, these are definitely companies you want to keep an eye on. That would be Broadcom, ST Microelectronics, Astronics, NVIDIA, of course, and then the South Korean company Bastille. That's where SpaceX gets most of their metals from. But you got to trade that in the South Korean market. And I've never traded in foreign markets. I wouldn't not be qualified to guide you through that. But hey, go exploring. There's a learning opportunity there. Silver's not looking good because the dollar is looking so good. Are we going to bust through? Are we going to bust through this 100.3? It's looking like it might. It's trying. It's trying. I want to see, has it ever you mean it? Okay, let's check something out. Let's put this on the year. Let's see what it's done. Each candle is a year. Wow, woo, look at that. 1985, we were 150, 160, 165. Wow. Huh. I love looking at these old, the history of things, various things with the dollar. 1985. That, I believe, was the year of a big old market crash, was it not? But you know the thing about crashes, which is what the market looks like it's basically doing. Let's see, for the week. Mixed bag for the week. A little red for the month. Mixed bag for 3 months. I'm not going to go back any further than that. But you see, Rudy, historically, every major market crash or major market decline, whatever you want to call it, while it hurts in the short term, long term, what happens? Go look at the history. In fact, you know what? I got a picture I'll show you. Because I saved this picture just for today, and it would be a shame if I was just wasting my time, right? Yep, here we go. Come on. Come on. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Okay. Now this itch. I bet it's mirrored when it comes through. Maybe it's not. These are market crashes. The year that the market crashed, the green number is the number that we went up after we recovered. Look at those numbers. Every single time, every single crash, there is a hell of a recovery afterwards. All right? So do not let current market conditions dishearten you. Do you know what that right there proves? That proves this is a buying opportunity. We should be celebrating the opportunity here by going after them. And this really more speaks to my point of this right here. ETFs right now are probably the best thing you could buy. All these other speculative plays, oil, silver, what Palantir's doing. Historically, your ETFs right now is like historically the best time to buy ETFs, and just dump money into it every time you get paid. Dump a little bit into it. Dump a little bit into it. Plan on holding for years. Save for your retirement. This is one of the best things you could do, is drop into some Vanguard ETF, man. They are statistically proven year over year. Statistically proven that if you invest a certain amount of money, every chance you get, if you can do that for 10 or 20 years, I know it sounds like a long time, and if you're young, it seems a lot longer than it actually is. If you're young, I highly encourage you to do this, to have the discipline to drop it in there and leave it in there for a decade or two, and I promise you, you will retire a millionaire. You can find this. You can find the proof of this everywhere. This isn't some fringe BS I'm throwing at you. This is a tried and true, understood strategy. If you are young, do it. Look out for yourself, because nobody else is gonna. Everybody you know will go away eventually. I'm almost 48 years old. The last couple of years have been exceptionally hard for me, because I've lost so many people near and dear to my heart. Family, people that, just because people get old and die. It's just, death is a natural part of life. But at some point, everybody has a period in time where it seems like everybody they know and love is dying. They're going away. And it'll happen to you too. So if you are young, I highly encourage you to plan for your future, because I spent my youth raising hell and burning the candle at both ends, and I am now suffering for it. If I could go back, I would do exactly what I'm telling you to do, and I'd punch myself in the mouth for not doing this sooner. We learn from our mistakes, or at least we should. So if you can't learn from your own mistakes, learn from mine. Okay? I mean that. With everything that's in me. I mean that. So, that being said, guys, I have had a great time today, as usual. I hope y'all have made some money. I hope everybody makes some money. This is a buying opportunity. Go out there and get something. Throw some money in Bitcoin. Leave it in there for a few years till the next bull cycle. I'm telling you. Another 3 years, Bitcoin's probably going to run up. I don't want to make any predictions because there's so many wild predictions out there, but look at the history, man. Look at the history. Every 4 years, a new all-time high. And I firmly believe Bitcoin will probably run up to at least $250,000. Just keep putting money into something and just leave it. Just leave it. And if you're going to do that, your best bet is to not look at it daily either. Because you don't want to panic sell. There's so many people right now that are seeing the market plummet and they're, oh shit, I don't want to lose any money. Sell. Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, unless you're in some short-term speculative thing, just ride the storm. Trust me. Put more money into it. ETFs, Bitcoin, and you will thank me. Hopefully, I'm still alive for you to thank me. Anyway, I've had fun. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. Drop a like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and I will keep on bringing it to you, and I will see you Monday. Peace, love, and hair grease.